Good evening and good evening, everybody. Welcome to this regular planning board meeting, September 25th, 2025. Madam Secretary, can you please call the roll?
Julie Parker. Present. Jeremy Katzef.
Here.
Mr. Lilly.
Here.
Mr. Hyman. Mr. Kamudi. Councilman Roman. Township Manager O'Sullivan. Deputy Mayor McAvoy.
Present.
Vice Chair Freshy.
Here.
Chair Pearson.
Here.
Mr. Massara.
Here.
Kathleen Misch.
Here.
And myself. Alvaro Gonzalez.
Here.
Sarfine Tanweer.
Here.
And Rich Wallowitz.
Here.
Great. Engineer, forester, and our zoning code official. So will everybody please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, would you please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied with respect to this meeting of the Township of Verona's Planning Board, which is being held in person in the ballroom of the Verona Community Center located at 880 Bloomfield Avenue, Verona. The time and date of this meeting were included in the annual meeting notice posted in the Community Center and sent to the official newspaper of the Township, the Verona Cedar Grove Times, at least 48 hours preceding the start time of this meeting. The agenda and instructions on how to comment will be provided at the appropriate time. All meetings are recorded. Those wishing to speak during any public comment period should only provide their name and municipality. Street addresses are not required. Please be advised that should a member of the public choose to state their street address, it will not be redacted from this recording.
Thank you. With that said, if any members of the public have any public comment or questions about anything that is not on this evening's agenda, please approach the mic and just state your name and municipality for the record. Seeing none, I will now close public comment, general public comment, I should say. And at this time, we will look at our meeting minutes from July 26, 2025. Has everybody received a copy of those? Are there any corrections? You wanted me to add this. There were only
Only those that were present can vote.
right.
Right.
So, okay, doesn't matter. If it's one, it's fine.
Absolutely.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Does anybody have any corrections on these meeting minutes? All right, can I get a motion to move and to pass these meeting minutes?
So moved.
Mr. Fresky makes the motion. Can I get a second? I'll second. Can I just get a voice vote to pass the meeting minutes? Anybody who was present at the meeting may vote.
Approved.
1, 2,
Yes.
3. That's it. Just the three of us.
4.
Who was the fourth?
Right here.
Sorry, I missed you. All right, so that would be Ms. Parker, Mr. Lilly, Mr. Fresky, and myself. Meeting minutes pass. We have no resolutions, no consistency to termination, we have a subcommittee meeting on Monday, right?
No, I talked to township manager. Talked to the township manager, and he said there's nothing new, that we're going to go to our alternate date, which I think it was the following Monday. I have to double check.
Can you just jot a note to send us out a notification about that? So
Yes.
people can replan their Monday?
Yes, tomorrow I will.
I appreciate that.
He was out, so I just heard back from him this afternoon.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so we don't have a subcommittee meeting next week, and we will now go back to Planning Board Application 2025-02, 1 Wedgewood Drive, Block 1712, Lot 1, the application hearing for tree removal. Application heard at the March 27, 2025 hearing where testimony was taken. April 24th, carry. May 22nd, carry. We came to the June 26th to carry for them. What did we do July? Requested to carry to the July meeting, yeah, that's what we did. And then there was no new notice required, and then the applicant requested to be carried to the September meeting, and they noticed. Did they renotice? Yes, okay, they renoticed, okay. Mr. Hunkel,
Yes, Madam Chairperson. Excuse me, yes, Madam Chairperson.
please proceed.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I just might, this is considered a new application. There was renotice. The application's been deemed complete. The applicant did submit supplemental plans to,
We did not give it a new application number.
Okay.
We carried the same application number with it. I'm just stating for the record that
but doesn't change anything. Notice was provided.
it seems like a
and new
revised
signatures.
application,
Right,
but
but there was new notice because there was not a continuation of notice during public meetings, so that's why new notice is required. So that's the only distinction really between whether it's a new app or not.
so why did we come to the July meeting in the first place? We came to that meeting to
But
carry
there
it.
was a break, and to be safe, I think, I
Okay.
forget exactly what transpired, but it was carried, but then there was a break in the chain somewhere.
I don't believe we had a
August.
quorum in August. We didn't
Because
have
we
the
couldn't
meeting
have
because
a
we didn't have a
quorum in
quorum in
Right, we
August.
couldn't have a quorum,
That's
and-
the only
Well,
reason.
that was the break in the chain.
Right. Okay, well, proceed.
Thank you. My name is Daniel Henkel of Henkel Law, and I'm appearing tonight on behalf of the applicant, Wedgewood Gardens Condominium Association. We are here tonight because the association is seeking the planning board's approval to remove 7 trees at the Wedgewood Gardens condominium in connection with the road repaving project. Tonight's testimony will show that New Jersey law requires the association to obtain a reserve study identifying every component that it is responsible to maintain and repair. You will hear that the reserve study provides a schedule of when these components' useful life has expired, and most importantly, that state law requires the association to replace these components once they have reached the end of their useful life. To that point, the testimony and evidence will show the applicant has obtained a reserve study showing that the parking lot has reached the end of its useful life. Consequently, the association must repave the parking lot to comply with its statutory obligations. It is important to recognize that the applicant is not asking this board to approve the parking lot project per se. That is not the issue presented. We are here tonight because the roadway construction cannot be performed without causing irreparable harm to 17 trees that are located within 2 feet of the curbs lining the roadways. The paving plans that will be introduced tonight are being done for the purpose of providing context and showing the installation of multiple catch basins to address drainage concerns raised by the township engineer. The association is not asking to remove these trees because they are unwanted. It is asking to remove these trees because it cannot comply with statutory maintenance obligations unless the trees are removed. The testimony will show the construction will cause irreparable damage to the trees. Not only would this construction violate the township's ordinance prohibiting tree mutilation, but it would create a dangerous condition because the tree would ultimately deteriorate. Perhaps more importantly, tonight's testimony will show that the plans relied upon were revised, the plans relied upon by the applicant were revised after an on-site meeting and in consultation with the township's foresters and engineers. To that end, the applicant is asking the board to allow the removal of these 17 trees, provided they are replaced with new trees in accordance with the proposed tree replacement plan. The plan was prepared by our landscape architect based upon data provided to him from our licensed tree expert. You will hear testimony that the applicable ordinance requires more than 22 replacement trees. However, the testimony will show that the property cannot responsibly accommodate more than 22 replacement trees. The applicant is committed to paying a contribution to the township's tree replacement fund in lieu of replanting additional trees that cannot be responsibly accommodated. Our landscape architect will discuss why he chose the particular location for each replacement tree, and he'll also explain why he chose a particular tree species. The testimony will collectively show there will be no negative impact to the criteria listed in Ordinance Section 493-24B. The testimony will show there will be no negative impact to drainage conditions, soil erosion, dust concentration, or soil fertility. There will be no deterioration of property value, nor would the tree removal cause a deleterious effect on the land's physical condition. There will be no destruction of a buffer between residential and non-residential uses. The contemplated work will not endanger life or property. But in the event the board finds the applicant has not satisfied the negative criteria, then the applicant seeks alternative relief pursuant to Section 493-24C's hardship exception. That ordinance states the planning board shall not permit removal of a tree unless the applicant proves that the removal of the trees will not have a negative impact on any of the criteria listed above, or unless it determines that the continued existence of the tree will cause a hardship to the owner of the property or the occupant of the property where the tree is located, or endanger the public on the property where the tree is located or adjoining property owner. The evidence will demonstrate the applicant will suffer an undue hardship if the relief is not granted. Again, this repaving project is not discretionary. The applicant is required to repair the roads pursuant to its statutory maintenance obligations. These 17 trees are literally standing in the way of the applicant's fulfillment of those duties. If relief is not granted, then the applicant will not be able to complete its paving project without subjecting itself to liability under the applicable ordinances. So the applicant can choose to disobey state law in order to avoid liability with Verona, or it can choose to comply with state law and subject itself to liability with Verona. This enviable position that has been created is an undue hardship, entitling the applicant to relief even if the negative criteria is not satisfied. We thank the board in advance for its time tonight and for keeping an open mind with respect to our application. With that being said, the applicant will call its first witness, Mr. Greg Daniele.
Mr. Daniele, can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Greg Daniele, Flanders, New Jersey.
And can you, do you have a business address, sir?
And that's news to the company, Fairfield, New Jersey.
Okay. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Would the panel prefer that Mr. Daniele sit here or stand at the microphone?
Sitting right there is fine.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Daniele.
Good evening.
Could you please explain to us and the board your professional experience in your current employment job title?
My current employment job title is Property Director. I am with Cedar Crest Management. I have been in the property management industry for 30 years now. I have the highest license within property management, that's PCAM through CAI, Community Associations Institute. And that was back in, say maybe 2003, and I've been doing continuing education since then, every year, for property management and how to handle things.
So you hold a license
Well, I should say a certificate.
Certificate.
There is no license.
from the Community Associations Institute
Correct.
in property management?
Right. PCAM.
And the Community Associations Institute, what is that? Is that a
That
trade
is-
group of some sort?
It's a legislative governing body, sort of. They do a little bit of everything, like a governing body, sort of.
And they've credentialed you to be
Yes.
a certified property manager. In your capacity as a property manager, do you know what a reserve study is?
Yes.
Can you tell us what a reserve study is?
The reserve study is, well, now it's changed for the past since last year. It handles all the components that need to be replaced within the property, items that need deferred maintenance over time, and it gives a useful life, it gives the lifespan of the product, and it gives you the costs, and basically the costs on there, and whether it needs to be changed. And we do an inspection usually every 3 years. New Jersey requires 5 years, CAI says 3 years, so we more or less go with 3 years because things deteriorate quite quickly in the Northeast due to the weather conditions, so we like to keep on top of things.
Does the reserve study provide a schedule of when the repairs need to be made?
Yes, it's a 30-year schedule, it's a 30-year outlook on this reserve study, and every component will have a lifespan within that 30 years, and then it will have its useful life upon the inspection of when they did that reserve study inspection by the engineers.
Do you know whether condominium associations is compliance with the reserve study discretionary or mandatory?
Mandatory.
Do you know how it's mandatory?
I've never gone against it, so I really don't know.
At this time, and I'm going to speak to Mr. Mercera on this, I'd like the witness to read in some applicable provisions of the law regarding reserve studies and the condominium association's obligation to make those repairs. I have copies of the law for each member
Mr.
here.
Heinkel, I don't think that that's necessary. I think the board can take judicial notice of the law, just as, any other law that you're citing today, the municipal land use law, which, we can get to.
That's fine.
That's your prerogative, but I don't think it's necessary. I think, the law speaks for itself.
So in lieu of delving into that substantively through the witness, can for the record we note that the panel takes judicial notice of New Jersey statute 45:22A-44.2 and 44.3?
That's it. No. You did that again?
Sure. NJSA 45:22A-44.2. And then the second statute is the same beginning, just ends in 44.3.
I think that's acceptable rather than reading the statute. If you want to highlight some points, I think that's your prerogative, but
Thank you, Mr. Mercera. Mr. Daniele, I'm handing you a document that we have not marked. Would the panel prefer us to pre-mark exhibits, or?
I don't know that even has to be an exhibit, since we're taking judicial notice of it, so it's not an exhibit.
We're offering this reserve study to show.
Oh, the study itself? That
Yes.
would be A1 tonight. If you haven't submitted it as part of the application, that would be.
It has been submitted
Then
to
it's-
the board.
then
There's
it's-
copies. We just did not pre-mark the
Then
exhibits.
it's not an exhibit this evening then, if it's part of the application.
Okay,
So
so
you're
we're gonna,
referencing part of the application.
okay, so we're gonna mark this reserve study for Wedgewood Gardens as Exhibit A1.
If you want to mark it, that's fine.
It was submitted
Right, it was-
to our secretary, who dispersed it to us,
Okay.
email. So it doesn't really need a number tonight.
Okay, I'm sorry. I gave bound copies for everybody. I thought I had them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they were in everybody's
Yeah, okay,
packet.
great. Mr. Daniele, I see that you just reviewed this document over the past few minutes. Can you tell me what this document is?
This is the reserve study for, produced by Falcon Group, reserve study, capital reserve replacement fund analysis for Wedgewood Gardens condominium.
And is Cedar Crest the custodian of the association's records?
Yes.
And is this record one of those records?
It was on.
May I ask the question? The witness's answer wasn't recorded on the record. Is Cedar Crest the custodian of records for the association?
Yes.
Is this reserve study one of the records that Cedar Crest maintains in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
Is this the most recent copy of the reserve study?
To my knowledge, this is it.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to page C7. They aren't labeled numerically, but C7 is. And could you please read the caption of this page that's located on the very top left?
Capital Reserve Study, excuse me, Capital Reserve Replacement Analysis Expenditure Schedule.
And do you see a table below that?
Yes.
And in that table, do you see a column for the fiscal year 2024?
Yes.
And when you go down that column, do you see repairs?
Yes.
Okay. Could you please read to me line item number 50?
Site work, road, parking areas, asphalt reconstruction, and then it says references 18, fiscal year. Well, it says present value of line item expenditures at time window is 816,000, and 2024, bring it down, 2024 is, 816,000.
So based upon your interpretation of this reserve study, does it require the parking areas to be reconstructed in the 2024 calendar year?
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Heinkel, I think, speaking to the chairman, I think the board will accept the stipulation that the reserve study is the most recent reserve study of the association, and the association believes that as a part of compliance with current New Jersey law, that the association must make repairs in accordance with current regulations.
Okay.
I
That
don't
will
think-
save me some time. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mr.
I don't think you
Thank
need to go further on that.
Madam Chairperson. So, and I'll just ask you one last question, Mr. Daniele. It's your understanding that the association has to perform this paving lot project immediately?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions, but sit here in case anybody else wants to.
Yes. You can't dismiss him before the board has a chance to ask questions, just in case.
So, Mr. Daniele, what is going to be your role in this project?
I believe I'm just the property manager or the director. I'll be overseeing not the construction work, not the paving work, but making sure that the contractors are on property, taking care of what they need to take care of based on the proposals that were submitted and approved, the contracts.
And have you overseen a similar project of sort of?
Oh, yes,
size?
yes, yes, yes. In, let's see, Edgewater, I did the repaving there at Independence Harbor, half on the ocean, half on the river, half on the land. So I was dealing with the on the dock as well, dealing with the repaving over on the top of the dock, because half the community was on the dock. So,
And did it have to accommodate for stormwater management?
oh yeah, because nothing was allowed to go into the river, so I had to make sure everything was going outside of the community, yes.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Just curious, when was the last analysis done on this property? Do you know?
A reserve study analysis?
Yes.
2020, where'd you go? 2024? Yes, 2024.
Prior to this?
Prior to this one? That I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe Fountain Movement is.
If there are no further questions, may I just ask?
Question.
Sure.
So you said that this money was, I guess, allocated to that need in 2024, and we sat with your application in March of this year, and consistently it kept getting delayed by the applicant himself. So I see that you're saying we have to do this immediately, but I'm just pointing out a simple fact that we've been basically waiting on you to come back to us, waiting on the application and the applicant to come back to us. And here we are many, many months later. So the immediacy tone seems to fall a little flat with me because, again, we even met in June just to, basically carry this application for you in hopes that it would be forthcoming soon. So do you have an answer for that, either of you?
I don't think a question was asked.
Yes, I asked What is the immediacy all of a sudden when you've had all this time to respond to us since March 2025?
Well, the immediacy is not dictated by the association's terms. It's dictated by the fact we have to do it.
So why the delay? Why did it kept getting put off month after month?
Madam Chairperson?
Yeah.
Can I ask the question a slightly different way? You're indicating here that this had to be done in 2024, and that's the immediacy. And yet, unless I'm missing something, the application wasn't even filed until 2025. So what's the reasoning for
Well,
that?
we don't have a magic wand. The work would have been done in 2024. The trees didn't need to be removed and we didn't need to come here. We've submitted our application because it took a considerable amount of time to prepare and coordinate with multiple professionals. And during the summer, we did coordinate with the township foresters and engineers and to revise those plans in consultation with them. We certainly appreciate that the panel has given us courtesies to hear this application, but at the same time, whether it believes that this project is immediate or not, I'm not sure how that necessarily impacts this application, because the issue is whether or not the trees need to be removed and whether or not
No,
the tree
but
life is
sir,
satisfied.
sir, that's not, you said this has to be done immediately in one of your statements.
I'm not
over the-
testifying. I was just giving you an opening statement. I would appreciate giving my professionals the opportunity to speak about the project.
I don't understand where you're coming from. I'm asking a question. There was a statement made about the immediacy, the immediate need for this, and the application has been put off month after month. I guess I'm not going to get an answer to that as to why that happens.
Well, I'm gonna
Because
go
you
through-
are testifying. You're answering the question for the applicant. So
I'm going to read my
If I could-
statement and
if
see if I
could-
see the word immediate.
excuse me.
stop it.
Okay. Someone asked council a question directly.
Mhm.
Okay, council responded. Council generally does not testify in planning board settings, but when asked a question, I think it's typical that the attorney would reply. It's not testimony, but moving on from the issue right before us is, Madam Chairman, what is the relevance of whether it is immediate or not, and why are we going into?
Because there was a claim that there's a hardship in the beginning opening statement, and the immediacy and need to do this, and basically, we're causing their hardship when this might have been already taken care of had the application moved forward in a more timely manner through the process.
Well, the planning
So-
board's not causing the hardship. The ordinance is causing the hardship.
I'm
Because
sorry?
the planning board is not causing the hardship. It's the ordinance. If the ordinance did not exist, we would not be here because we
Right.
could just remove the trees.
You could steal too, because then you wouldn't go to jail, and then you wouldn't have that
Well, you
problem
wouldn't go to
either.
jail even if you removed 10 trees, because it's not a
But
criminal statute.
Do you understand the point?
I-
You're saying
I'm
that.
failing to, I think, and I'm not sure what the relevancy is, because I'm trying to supplement my previous statement to provide some context, and I think you just don't want to hear what I have to say.
I certainly do want to hear what you have to say. I just wish that you would be a little bit more
So-
kind in the way that we are communicating right now. There's no reason to get contentious. I asked a simple question, and apparently you want to spar, and I don't want to.
No, I don't want to spar either, but you just said that the question was asked under the presumption that this planning board is causing the hardship, and I responded that it is not. It is the ordinance that's causing the hardship because we have to do this
Okay.
repaving project to comply with
Asked
state
and
law.
answered, thanks. I appreciate it.
Mr. Becerra, can I finish my statement to,
You're not testifying.
well, the answer's not important, why'd you ask? I'd like to ask Mr. Daniele one last question, if there's no further questions for him, as a redirect.
Does anybody else have any further questions for Mr. Daniele? No, we don't.
Mr. Daniele, are you aware as to whether the condominium association has hired a professional engineering firm to oversee the construction of this roadwork?
Yes,
And are you relying on those services in conjunction with your oversight duties?
yes.
Thank you. Is there any recross-examination of the witness?
Do any of our professionals have any questions for Mr. Daniele?
Mr. Daniele, did you take part in the hiring of the tree expert to do the assessment?
No, I was not employed with Cedar Crest at the time.
Okay. My question there is why would a tree expert from a tree removal service be hired rather than just an independent arborist? Who may make a decision and that would not have conflict of interest? Do you know the reason?
Mr. Freshy, could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, I was wondering why a tree expert was hired from a tree removal service as opposed to an independent arborist who could maybe make a more of an unbiased assessment.
I couldn't tell you why they were hired. Bartlett Tree Experts or Bartlett Tree Services were hired. It probably went.
When did you join? You said I
I'm
wasn't
here-
With Cedar Crest when
Correct.
the assessment was done, so you
That-
just joined in the last few months?
August. I'm here since
Oh,
August.
so 2 months?
Yes.
Not even? Okay. So you've been with Cedar Crest for,
2 months. Correct.
well, congratulations on the new job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I can't excuse the witness.
Members of the public.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Does any member of the public, sorry, have any questions for Mr. Daniele? Seeing none, I will close public comment, and now you may do what you will.
Thank you.
The applicant would like to call its next witness, Mr. Robert Lehner of Falcon Engineering.
Hmm.
Do we phone either way? Yeah, you have a seat. Just make sure you.
Mr. Lander, can you state your name and business address for the record, please? And please spell your last name.
Robert Lehner Jr., L-A-N-E-R. I represent the Falcon Group, 95 Mount Bethel Road in Warren.
Are you a member of the group, or you say you're representing the group?
I'm sorry, I am a senior project engineer with the group.
Thank you. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lehner. Could you please tell us about your education and professional background?
Absolutely. I am I don't want to go there yet. My education background, I have my undergraduate degree in civil engineering from NJIT. I have my master's degree in construction management from NJIT. And professional background, I'm sorry, I have 20 years of experience working with engineering consulting firms, as well as about 20 years of experience in the construction industry as well. So I have designed it and I have built it.
Do you hold any professional licenses?
I do. I'm a licensed civil engineer in the state of New Jersey. I achieved my degree or my license in 2012, and I have been maintaining it with continuing education credits.
And are you currently in good standing with the state of New Jersey or any board overseeing licensing for your profession?
I'm currently in good standing with the board.
Yeah, Mr. Lehner, who is your current employer?
The Falcon Group.
And what is your job title at the Falcon Group?
I'm a senior project engineer.
And can you tell us about some of your duties and responsibilities as a senior project engineer?
My duties are involved working with the client regarding proposals for scopes of work that need to be done, working with the other designers within my group. I design the plans. I am also involved in the construction aspect of the Falcon Group, where I oversee all the construction projects. I work on the bidding and work directly with the community managers to make sure that the work is being done in accordance with the plans and specifications and meet the budget as close as possible.
Thank you. Are you aware that the applicant has hired the Falcon Group in connection with its road repaving project?
I am.
And is the Wedgwood property one of the projects you're overseeing in your capacity at Falcon?
It is.
Would it be fair to say that you're familiar with the project and its scope of work?
I am.
Councils, if I could, are you introducing Mr. Falcon as an expert?
Yes, I'm
an
sorry, I just
engineering
skipped
expert?
over that. We would ask that he be introduced as an expert, as a professional engineer, unless the board wants to provide your or further question.
Right, so I don't think anybody has any reservations about accepting him as a witness. If anybody does, please speak up. He's accepted.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Mr. Laner, are you familiar with the current condition of the roadways at Wedgewood?
I am.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the least deteriorated and 10 being the most deteriorated, are you able to rate the condition of the condominium's roadways?
Under current conditions, it's prior to the start of the repairs on the site, the roads were at a solid 10. Since some of the repairs have been done, where the repairs have been made, the roads have been mitigated, but they are still substandard and beyond their life.
Did Falcon Group prepare plans for this repaving project prior to any work being performed?
We did. We started off first with performing coring samples or having an independent company come in and do coring samples throughout the property to determine the viability of the asphalt, to see how thick the asphalt was, if the asphalt could be, if the roadway would have to be fully repaired or whether we could do a partial repair on the road.
So, did the condition of the roadways inform your decision-making at all as to the scope of the work that must be done?
Repeat the question for me again, I'm sorry.
Sure. Was the scope of the work that you deemed necessary dependent upon the condition of the property?
The scope of the work was necessary based on the information that we obtained from the coring samples where the surface course of the asphalt was deteriorating, the base course of the asphalt was less than your standard design thickness, and the cracking that was evident on the property as well as the asphalt being decomposed rendered the life of the asphalt useless and out of its term and would have to be replaced. And due to the due to the severity of the asphalt, we would not be able to go in and simply perform a mill and overlay where we take off the surface course, repair any of the base as necessary, and repave it. The asphalt was beyond its life, and we have to do a complete repair of the asphalt, which is to remove both layers of the asphalt and make sure that we have the adequate subbase in order to rebuild the asphalt back up, as well as install new curbs.
And how far, are you familiar with the roadways adjacent to the trees, the 17 trees in question?
I am.
And in those areas, how deep do the contractors need to dig in order to satisfy your plan or scope of work?
So we'll be doing a complete roadway repair or roadway replacement and parking lot replacement, which is going to, as I said again, complete removal of all the asphalt, making sure we have the proper subbase, and when we put our curbs in, we will be excavating down from the top of the curb 22 inches in order to put our new curb in with its footing as well as the drainage stone that's underneath it. And the curb line is within 2 feet of the center mass of the trunks. So there's going to be roughly a 2-foot wide by 2-foot deep excavation in order to install the new work with the forms and be able to, properly install the curb.
So was it your testimony that it's going to be digging about 22 inches deep?
Yes, we'll be digging about 22 inches deep right off the tree line.
And as far as the curbs are concerned, you need to excavate on both sides of the curbs or just one side of the curb?
We will have to we'll be excavating on both sides of the curb for a total width of, give or take, 24 inches.
Okay. Now, do you recall being at Wedgewood Gardens back in August for a site meeting?
I do.
Do you recall maybe not names perhaps, but do you recall who was there?
There were two gentlemen from the municipality that were representing the municipality. They were the township's arborists. I believe Rich was one of them. There was also the association's professionals, myself, yourself, their Bartlett Tree Service, as well as our the association's landscape architect.
Do you recall whether or not the township's engineer was there?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, the township's engineer was there as well. We were specifically discussing some stormwater issues.
And did you walk the property during that August 7th site meeting?
Yes, I did.
And did you review the location of each tree whose removal is being proposed?
I was part of the group walking the project, yes.
And based upon your site visit, did you make a determination as to whether the paving project work could be completed without disturbing those trees?
The paving project would not be able to be completed without destroying the trees
And
or damaging the trees.
thank you. Can you explain? I'm not going to ask you how the trees may be impacted health-wise as a result of the work. I'm just asking if you could explain how the work might disturb those trees.
Typically, when we put together site plans, we do not like to do we like to mitigate the amount of grading, cut, or fill within the drip line of the trees. In this particular instance, the work that would need to be performed in order to maintain the project in accordance with the reserve study would require excavation in roughly 2 feet in depth directly adjacent to the tree stump, which was going to cause harm to the tree, and Ben will be able to further discuss that, as that is his area of expertise.
Okay. While you were on the property back in August, did you and the township engineer discuss any potential drainage issues that may arise due to the removal of these trees?
Due to the removal of the trees, no.
Did you discuss any potential drainage issues at all?
We discussed that due to the grade of the project and the adjacent streets to the northeast, there's a large amount of water that comes down into the project, and in order to prevent some of that water from going over the curbs and down into other streets, we were going to install a few additional catch basins in the area that the engineer and I discussed. And the plans that are in front of you show that we installed 3 additional catch basins, which are going to collect that rainwater that's coming down into the road.
Mr. Mercera, can we mark Falcon's paving plans as Exhibit A2?
It was also sent to us.
Okay, so there's no need to mark it?
I believe it was.
If you want to keep going.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
A2.
It's the trial attorney in me. I'm just pretty sure I've had it. So, Mr. Lehner, you just stated that based upon your conversations with the engineer, you revised the paving plans to include some more catch basins?
That is correct.
But to your knowledge, those catch basins were being added to address existing stormwater and not conditions that may be created by the result of tree removal?
The catch basins were, to my knowledge, installed to help mitigate the runoff coming from the site. Nothing to do with the actual removal of the trees.
Okay. At this time, I have no further questions for Mr. Lehner unless the board would like to cross-examine.
You know what, I'm just going to go because can you please show us? Well, first of all, let me ask you a couple of questions. I'm sorry. Were you involved in the beginning of this project? Or were you brought in later?
I missed about the first month or so of the project.
So you were brought in after the first application was heard?
That is correct.
Okay. Because very shortly after that, about, I would say, 2/3 or at least half of the project has already been apparently completed. I occasionally drive through there. I have a couple of friends there. The roads have been paved. There were close to 50 trees being floated for removal, and somehow now it's down to 17. And paving got done of about half of the site. So the lower half of the site, it appears, has been paved, and a lot of the outlets that go down into where the garage bays are, towards Claremont Avenue, and then again, a garage bay that goes towards Rose Terrace, and that entire back parking lot where all the garages are, that's all paved. And I think there might have been 1 or 2 trees lost in the process of that, but no trees were actively removed prior to getting a lot of this work done. Would you say that that's correct?
I would just say I'm not sure why that question is being asked.
Do I
or how
have
that's
to
the
give
scope
you
of
a
this.
reason for asking a question about the project getting partially done without removal of trees?
What did that have to do with his testimony?
Well, you decided to go into excruciating level of detail in the trial attorney to talk about all the paving and building and brick lines, and really I think what this board is just after is, number one, the original application had a substantial number of trees, which to our benefit was reduced, which is great. I think we'd also like to understand why there's a discrepancy between the number of trees to be replaced is different on paper. And, you know, if we can just summarize and stick to some parts of the relevant part of the application, that's really what we're after.
Sure. I believe our other witnesses would be better prepared to.
Yeah,
You know?
that is true. I appreciate your experience as a trial attorney, but this is a planning board meeting. We can try to keep it a little.
Because we have relevant questions. We're not in a trial here. We're a planning board. We have an interest in protecting our town and doing the right thing according to our zoning code and our ordinances. So let's just take it down a notch. And I'm asking thank you very much, by the way. We're asking questions.
I understand
Allow
that.
him to answer the questions. This is not a trial court, please.
I understand that. It's a quasi-judicial proceeding.
No, it's
I'm not
not.
allowed to
It's
answer.
not, okay.
Mr. Heinkel, I'm going to ask,
The way this works.
Mr. Landry a question. Mr. Landry, Mr. Lanier, I'm sorry. The original plan called for road work and the removal of many more trees than now are being requested to be removed. Originally, the applicant had requested the removal of the trees now that do not have to be removed because of road work. So now the applicant is before this board saying we have to do road work, and because we have to do road work, we have to remove trees. Why did the road work ultimately, with the trees that remain that were previously identified for removal, not impact those trees? I think that's a long-winded way to ask what the chairperson was trying to ask.
That question
Thank
makes
you,
a lot of
Greg.
sense.
The majority of the work that took place was not in direct proximity to the trees. The remaining work along the tree route. So we have the remaining work along the eastern, northern, and western portions of Wedgwood Circle.
Okay.
Madam Chair, so if you were to drive in and you come to the circle, there's some work to the top of the circle to the right.
Correct.
And then as you work your way around back down the circle
Right.
is where the remainder of the work needs to take place. That work, the trees in that area are directly adjacent to the curb, whereas a lot of the other work that took place on site was in between buildings or between the circle and the existing buildings. The trees weren't as close to the property. And I would also just like to mention that although you may have been in there and you saw the roads were paved, they're not finished. That is only the base course of asphalt. We still have to put asphalt, all the asphalt that's in there still has to have the surface course put on.
Right, but that doesn't entail, the curbs are already put in that section, in those sections.
Yes, where the
That's-
asphalt looks new, the
Right.
curb work has been done in
Correct.
those areas.
Without the removal of trees,
That-
at least not intentional.
Correct.
So you said that you added 3 drainage. Can you show me where on the map
Absolutely.
in that, in those areas that have yet to be paved, because they seem almost at the height of the property rather than at the lower part where you would expect to put a drain downstream.
So you would come into the main portion of the property this way, you'd come up, unfortunately, all the roads are Wedgewood Drive, so,
Is that, the
Cumberland at
top
the
of
top.
that is Cumberland
I was.
or Hamilton?
Yes, it's Cumberland here.
Thank you.
So as you enter the site through, from Cumberland and you come up Wedgewood Drive, this whole area of the road is elevated up. Wedgewood Drive, as you continue to the south, also elevates and it comes into the corner where we need to do additional work. You continue along Wedgewood Drive, heading to the north, and elevation starts to drop as you come down around this boomerang here.
Thank you.
Where you come down this boomerang is where we're adding the additional drains.
2 drains there?
We're adding 3 additional drains. We're adding 1 drain right by building 6 to help collect the water that's coming down the road. We have another drain on the other side of building 6, and then we have a drain on the other side of the road to catch anything that's coming off this grass area where the topography drains as my fingers are coming across here. So there's existing drainage all the way at the top up by Hamilton. There's some existing drainage right here. There's some existing drainage right here. There's drainage here, but the majority is down in this low section here. So what we're trying to do is the water that's coming down and bypassing anything from here, the water that's coming down from here, and any water that's coming over this green knoll, we're catching it before it hops the curb and gets towards these buildings here.
And what exists going down towards, on the regular part of the roadway that you just drove up before you went around the circle?
This
What
one here?
exists in that area?
So there is some existing drainage that exists right here. We have some existing drainage at the bottom, and we have the 1 drain at the top for water that's coming down this way. We're catching it in this drain, we're catching it in this drain, and then ultimately it's making its way down.
If I could just, for the record, Mr. Lane, what you're referring to as the top is actually the lower portion
Yeah.
of, that is C1 that you're looking at?
Turn that upside down.
That is C1 that you're looking at?
Yeah, this is C-1.
C-1 of Exhibit A2?
Correct.
Okay. And again, I didn't hear your
So
answer, I apologize.
it's the top portion of the page, but it topographically is the lowest area of the property.
Thank you.
And that's where the additional drains are going, is where the lowest portion of the topography goes.
If you may.
Yes.
Thank you. The drains you're adding and the existing drainage, where does it leave the property? We're using structural means to remove the stormwater. Where does it end up?
That answer I do not know.
Albert?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Can I go, please?
Yeah, sure.
That would be great.
Can go there is better.
You do whatever you want.
So the idea when I spoke to him was, because this area.
Can you grab the mic? Thank you so much.
I got the contractor's voice.
So the idea here is that all this area actually it drains, all this area drains towards this corner. And this part actually drains this way.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yes, so when I walk all the way here, what I notice is that, for example, on this street is Wedgewood Drive. Yes. Okay, so from this, it drains this way. But what happens is that before, the codes before actually allowed to put catch basin at a longer distances, but currently you try to avoid that because, for example, during the winter, you can have that runoff and can actually freeze over here, causing many problems. One of them is the thaw and the freezing, yes, and then the asphalt is going to suffer. So what you do is you try to pipe the runoff as soon as possible, and you avoid having the runoff running freely on the road. So that was the rationale behind all this recommendation. So on this side, what I noticed is that there was no catchment here, and this is a long run from here all the way here. It doesn't have any catchment. So here we propose this catch basin, and over here, what I noticed in this area is that since the slope is steep, it was a combination that the asphalt is in bad condition, it's old, but the sign was that also the runoff was causing erosion on the surface of the asphalt. So the idea was just to catch the runoff before, because it's a long run, so catch it before and pipe it and put it here. So I walk all the way behind the buildings, and it seems like this catchment here is connected here and then goes here, and then there is a manhole.
It continues over to
Yeah,
here,
and there is,
goes out this way
yeah,
to an outfall.
yes, that's the
So
way
it
it goes.
goes, it basically eventuates, I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, it eventuates onto the road system and the pipes
Yes.
underneath Cumberland, which is a very flood-prone street.
Yeah, so
Well, Madam Chair, what I would like to also say is that we're not changing the drainage patterns that currently exist.
You're withholding more stormwater for a short period of time.
Also, the stormwater that's going to be collected in these 3 new catch basins was stormwater that was already coming down from Hamilton and collecting into either this catch basin here, this catch basin here, this existing basin, or this existing basin. So we're not changing the drainage patterns, we're not changing runoff coefficients, we're not adding any increased impervious coverage, which would then generate additional rainfall runoff. So we're not changing anything, we're just collecting it sooner, and we're piping it underground so that we don't have to worry about the icing conditions that would happen on the site, as well as extend the life of the asphalt by collecting the water sooner.
So, Mr. Lehner, were you involved in the design of this?
Yes.
You are. So was there any consideration, since you're catching the water at an earlier point, coming down off of Hamilton there, the first road closer to you, where you have the parking, that indentation I know is parking there? Was there any consideration for curb cuts and rain gardens in that little courtyard area to collect the water prior to entering or prior to even having a need for more collection?
Well, you have existing catch basins that are right at the top of this parking lot already. So the only water that's going to come down here is anything that may bypass this. This little triangle or this little rectangle here is what's going to be coming down the road. That's all.
Okay.
In
So even that little bit, because I know people on Cumberland right below in that far corner where all that water goes on heavy rainstorms, I've seen it. I've been in there, and it is a river going out that corner onto those properties. So was there any consideration for rain gardens, or would the applicant be willing to redesign? Because going down into that corner between the 2 buildings, there's a large courtyard there. Perfect opportunity, and I'm waiting for the tree person to come up and talk about tree locations. Perfect opportunity for more trees and possible rain gardens to accept some of that water and naturally soak into the ground.
So we did not consider rain gardens for any additional improvements to the stormwater as it occurs on the site, as we were entering into a maintenance project to just replace the asphalt and the broken curbs. During our meeting with township officials and their professionals, it was brought to our attention that, we would like you to install some additional catch basins. So under the recommendation of your engineer, we added those additional catch basins.
Okay. So would the applicant consider adding some rain gardens to reduce that runoff to the neighbors downstream? I mean, being a neighborly act of trying to mitigate some of this problem, since we're doing a lot of work here.
In the spirit of cooperation, we'd certainly, something that the association would consider. We can't speak on behalf of them right now, but at the same time, I would note that this exhibit was originally being proffered for the purpose of showing there was going to be catch basins to help with drainage, but it seems that the testimony of Mr. Lehner and the township's engineer that these catch basins are being installed to address existing runoff water and not to mitigate any drainage conditions that may arise or any adverse drainage conditions that may arise due to the tree removal. Again, we'd be happy to consider those things as in the spirit of cooperation, but we just want to clarify for the record that these catch basins are not being added for drainage mitigation for the tree removal. It's being as mitigation for existing stormwater runoff on the roads.
And my thought is to mitigate some of the problem with the tree removal, because we all know how much water trees absorb. Mr. Lehner talked about runoff from the island area. So on that bottom corner of the island would be maybe another good area for a rain garden, to not have any sheet runoff from that center island, as you just spoke about. So those are crucial areas on that property where we can help our neighbors not experience these flooding conditions when we get these heavy rains. So it would be nice if the applicant, if this could be reviewed and adding rain gardens, being that we are removing so many trees that are right along the roadways that soak up water.
I can have our other professionals speak more to that.
Okay, great. That's all I have. Thank you.
I'm just,
Yeah, could we go back to the disturbance around the curbs? So I thought earlier you said that you go 2 feet back from the curb towards the trees?
So just to clarify that, so how do I want to try to explain this? So from the face of the curb that you would see, we would go back into the line, about a foot, a little bit more than a foot back, as well as into the roadway as well, so that the total excavation would be 2 feet wide.
Okay.
And that is to be able to allow the contractor to, A, remove the existing concrete footings, the ones that are still in place. A lot of them are broken and no longer really there, but to remove the existing material, make sure he's got enough room to put his new forms in, form his concrete footing, and then install the new Belgian block.
And then the depth, you said, was 2 feet from the top
So
of the
from
curb.
the top of the curb, we'd be going down 22 inches of excavation.
22 inches. So you could really subtract out the height of the curb, right? Because that's above ground. So it's whatever the height of the curb.
The grass that's adjacent to the curb is at the height of the curb. So from that grass, we'd be going down 22 inches of excavation.
Okay.
And again, that's to provide the stone footing, that's the stone that's underneath the concrete footing, which helps pull any groundwater away, as well as the concrete footing itself for the block.
No pipes are going to be replaced underneath the ground though.
No.
Right. You're just going to tie into existing pipes with the new.
Correct. The proposed catch basins are tying into an existing catch basin, no modifications to the underground conveyance system.
any other questions up here? Any of our professionals have any questions? No? Okay. Anyone from the public have any questions? Please come up, state your name in the microphone and your township of residency. You don't have to say your full address.
Good evening.
Passing on.
That's okay. I'll use my professor voice. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Stephanie Brackfeld. I'm a resident of
You have to
Verona.
ask questions of this witness. You can make comments later.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. As a resident of this complex, I'm concerned about the unfinished preliminary paving that was done. You mentioned it was the base layer. It looks pitted and popped to me. And the gentleman mentioned winter freeze thaw. Are we at risk of that base layer being damaged during winter freeze thaw? Thank you.
Did everybody hear her question? No. So she's concerned about the aesthetic look of the asphalt and the pitted appearance,
Not the aesthetic, the potential for winter.
as well as yes. So the aesthetic look of the asphalt, that's base asphalt. There's two different kinds. You have base and you have top. Base is a lot more porous. It has a lot larger stone. It provides a more structural base. Typically, within a very short time frame after installing the base asphalt, we install the surface course, which is a lot more fine, doesn't have as many holes in it, and that is going to protect the asphalt. It's going to direct the water to where we need it to go to, and it is our intention to get what is currently paved that has a base course on it, to get the surface course on it. Knowing that we do have winter coming in, knowing that the base course is usually a little bit lower than the catch basins that exist, so you have to worry about the water getting into the structures. Once we can get that final course on, once we can get the rest of the curb done, and we can get the rest of the asphalt done, the intention is to pave the project going into winter so that you do not have the current road conditions that you currently are experiencing.
Try to speak right into it. Okay, but are we at risk that the existing materials would be damaged during winter, speaking to the urgency of the project?
There is the potential of having the base asphalt exposed for an extended period of time, that it could break down a little bit due to the freeze and thaw cycle because we don't have the final course on top.
Thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you. Professor? Anyone else from the public?
Hi, Carol Thomas from the Shade Tree Commission. I just want to be sure that we have another witness
Verona.
regarding, from Verona, that we have another witness regarding the tree choices.
Yes, we do.
All right, so I'll save everything till then.
Please.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any other members of the public that have a question for the engineer? Any last final dates that over here? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You have great projection.
You have to learn to speak over construction equipment.
At this time, the applicant would like to call our next witness, Mr. Matthew Burgess.
Mr. Burgess, could you state your name and business address for the record?
My name is Matthew Burgess. Our business address is 98 Ford Road in Danville, New Jersey.
And can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Could you please explain to the planning board a little bit about your background and qualifications and any professional licenses that you may hold?
I am an arborist in the state of New Jersey. I've been doing tree work for 32 years. I'm a licensed tree expert with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. I've been licensed and in good standing since 2009. I also hold the ISA, which is the International Society of Arboriculture, TRAQ, T-R-A-Q qualification, which is a tree risk assessment qualification. And that expires in 2029. About the long and short of my arborist career.
And you're currently a licensed tree expert?
Correct. My LTE number is 543.
And you're in good standing?
Yes, I am.
Are you required to take any continuing education courses as part of being a licensed tree expert?
I am required every 2 years to obtain 35 CEUs for renewal.
And are you up to date with all those
I'm
credits?
current at the moment, yes.
At this time, the applicant would ask the planning board accept Mr. Burgess as a licensed tree expert.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Burgess, can you turn on your microphone? Can you turn on your microphone?
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Burgess, I'm handing you a report that was submitted, which we'll mark as A3. Could you please take a look at that briefly and tell me if you're familiar with that report?
Yes, I am familiar with the report. And if I may speak to the gentleman.
Excuse me, could you identify the report, please?
This is the Wedgwood Gardens Preliminary Tree Preservation Report prepared by Keith Bemby, who is a Bartlett consulting arborist. That organization within Bartlett is separate from the actual arborist representatives. like myself, who work for Bartlett, who actually go out, meet with clients, address their specific arboricultural needs, propose, sell, perform the requisite duties of tree care. Keith is a consulting arborist and not alone. We're not allowed to do consultations for clients. We have to physically get in touch with our consulting group and specifically have them intervene at that point and take care of consulting needs on behalf of our clients. We're not allowed to do that, even
Thanks for the
despite being a
clarification.
tree expert.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So you're not the guy that cuts trees down?
Not anymore.
Okay. Mr. Burgess, did you get an opportunity to review this report?
Yes, I did.
Let me start over. Were you at the August site meeting at the Wedgewood property?
Yes, I was.
And prior to that site meeting, did you have an opportunity to review this report?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know whether this report was revised after consulting with the applicant's professionals as well as the town's professionals?
Yes.
And is this report the revised copy?
Yes,
that
it
was,
is.
I'm sorry, just let me finish my question before you answer so the record is clear. Was this revised report completed after the consultation with town professionals?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And you said that you reviewed this report and the trees in it prior to the August 7th site meeting.
Yes.
And at the site meeting, did you assess or review each of the trees listed in this report?
Yes, we walked the property around the map that the last gentleman was just pointing out, and all the trees that were around the curb line. We went through them one by one, along with members of the Wedgewood Gardens, the township arborist, and the engineer were all on site with us.
Are you familiar with the paving project at Wedgewood?
Yes.
And were you listening to Mr. Lehner's testimony just now about the scope of the project?
Yes.
Was Mr. Lehner at the August 7th site meeting?
Yes, he was.
And did you walk the property with him?
Yes, I did.
Okay. At this time, I'm just going to go through each of the 17 trees that are proposed for removal and just ask you a few questions about each. I'm going to direct your attention to page.
I'm sorry, you're going to go through every one of the 17 trees that we have seen on this list, also copied and pasted onto his plans.
Unless the board wants to stipulate that each of these trees need to be removed.
And we have it, and we've read it.
Okay, but it's not on the record.
Please,
I
Mr.
think,
Sarah.
well, I think if council believes that it's relevant, then I think he should go forward with it. But unless the board, again, wants to stipulate that the board is aware of each of the 17 trees. Council, what is the nature of...
The proffer of the testimony is we'd like the witness to say that he reviewed each tree, its proximity to the proposed construction, and issue an opinion as to whether or not the harm that would befall the tree as a result of the disturbance. And we can do that
Isn't that
generally.
included in the report, though? I mean, we've had this report for a while.
He's certainly permitted to go through a report that has been submitted, but perhaps we can just ask if there is any tree in particular, or, I'm sorry?
Do the opposite.
Do the opposite, right, go through the ones that he believes, need to be removed, and for whatever reason. But
Well, that's all I intend on doing, but there's 17 trees that need to be removed.
Well, I think if they're all in the same category, I think that perhaps we can just elicit his testimony that way.
Sure.
Okay.
So, Mr. Burgess, I'm just going to direct your attention to page 9 of the table. I'm sorry, page 9 of the report.
Yeah.
Do you see the tree inventory table?
Yes, sir.
And how many trees are listed on that table?
$17.
And you reviewed each of these trees on your site visit?
Yes, I did.
And is it your opinion that the contemplated construction work would irreparably harm these trees?
Yes.
What would happen if the tree roots were cut, but the tree was not removed?
The tree would ultimately be susceptible to wind throw, failure in storms. It could fall over. It would end up declining due to root disturbance within the critical root zone of that tree. It would have an unfavorable response.
So it's not something that we could just say, that's just a nick, don't worry about it, the tree will be fine.
No, I don't believe so.
And that's your opinion for each of these 17 trees?
Yes.
Do you recall if the township's foresters disagreed as to whether any trees need to be removed?
Yes. There was one, I believe, that was slated to be kept on the property or preserved.
And looking at the inventory table on number 9, is that tree number 8?
Correct.
Can you just please read that comment all the way on the most right-hand column there?
Says within 3 feet of parking and curb replacement to be retained on request by Tom Pertel and Rich Wallowitz.
And is it your understanding that the applicant is no longer asking permission to remove that tree?
That is correct.
It's your understanding that the applicant has accepted the forester's recommendation to keep that tree?
Yes, it is.
And just to finalize everything, it's your opinion that these trees need to be removed as opposed to just left in place if there is any harm to them?
Yes.
Thank you.
So can you just get into the structural details? So it's only going to be one side of what the tree, right? One side, there's going to be the removal of the soil. And then I'm not familiar with honey locust root systems, but do they tend to be deep? Are they shallow? Are they symmetrical coming out from the tree? How is it that it's sort of predetermined that doing this work is going to irreparably damage the trees?
We're talking about a curb strip. These trees are within 2 feet. Mr. Lehner described that the excavation is going to encompass approximately 24 inches. So we're probably talking a foot in on each side of the existing curb now for excavation. So we're reaching in an additional possibly 12 inches into the root system of a tree that's already 2 feet from a curb, and we're going to be shearing or cutting into these roots. These trees are going to struggle to survive. I don't think that they'll be even able to withstand, a mild windstorm. If we have any adverse weather, I think these trees will be more susceptible to failing if we do construction and we don't remove the trees first. Trees are not, there's not a specific deep rooted tree or shallow rooted tree. Trees are going to grow in the soils that they're in, and they will, the root system will expand. If the nutrients that they're seeking is deep down, they will search down to get it. If their nutrients are readily available at the surface, they're going to stay shallow rooted at the surface as well. But we're talking about the anchoring roots within them, like in some areas, a foot to 2 feet from the actual trunk of a tree. And if the tree, some of these are 20 inches, 28 inches in diameter, these are large trees. They're just not going to have a favorable response. This is going to catastrophically harm them.
I guess I have one question. Are you also going to give testimony around why there's a difference in calculation between the number of trees the applicant has calculated and the town has calculated, or is that a different witness?
Our landscape architect who prepared the tree replacement plan will be testifying as to that issue.
That was a good question.
That's what we're waiting for. Ms. Burgess, you just went through, on page 9, there's 17 trees listed. So you're saying that we are no longer removing tree number 8, so you're removing 16 trees now? Are we dropping this number?
I think,
And
I don't want to speak for the witness, I think there was a mistake. Table 9 lists 18 trees with 8 slated for removal, and on page 10 is the table of the trees actually going to be removed, which only lists 17, omitting tree number 8.
there's only 16 on page 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There is only 16.
Yeah, I can, anecdotally, when we were walking the site, the foresters, both ours and the townships, noticed the existence of a pine tree that was in very poor condition, but was not impacted by the road project. So I believe Bartlett was not able to include the removal of that tree in this table. They wouldn't be able to do that before the September 15th deadline to submit these
Is that the
documents.
tree that's on the south side of the property there, like off that wedge to the, I mean, if you're looking at the plans, it's to the left of the circle? That pine tree that's, I mean, it's marked here, I think it says 37-inch Pinus
Yes.
strobus. Is that the
Yes.
one?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, when I visited the site, that tree didn't look very healthy.
So that tree is not one that is going to be disturbed as a result of this road work, but everyone looking cautiously at this tree said that should probably be removed and just brought to the attention of the planning board during the application. That's a discrepancy because it's not included in this table, but it is included on the tree replacement plan, and our landscape architect can kind of delve into that discrepancy as well. But
So are
short
you
story,
saying
that's
that
the reason.
because of the health of that tree that you are stipulating that you're not, it doesn't fall under the normal replacement plan, or that it will fall under the replacement plan?
We're stating that the tree does not need to be replaced in connection with the road work, but it needs to be removed because of its poor health. So the tree replacement plan has lists that tree. I understand that the ordinance does not require mitigation for dead trees, but I do believe the tree plan nevertheless has replacement trees for that.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Could we-
On the root landscape, the 50, number 50, the pine, 37-inch, is listed in fair condition. It's not listed as dead, it's not listed as hazardous, it's listed as fair. And that would, I believe, be an extraordinary tree
If it has a 30.
if it's got 37-inch, which means it will have to go actually to the council for approval before it can, but it is listed in fair condition, not in dead or hazardous or diseased. And that's on the root landscape plan that's here.
So, go ahead.
So, you were on that walk,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, and you're saying that the tree is dead, but it was listed as fair, or you did not investigate this tree?
I measured the tree the day that we were there because I needed an accurate diameter to be able to propose its removal. It's in decline. It's in,
It might be in decline, but it's not dead.
It's marked
Well-
as fair, so I think we need to resolve the discrepancy as to, is it fair? Is it dead? Is it dying? Is it not
Were you
fair?
on that walk, sir?
Yes, yes, I was there. I would classify it as extremely poor.
So who posted that it was listed in fair condition? So who generated that assessment?
I believe it's you could find it on the tree replacement plan labeled that
I'm
way.
asking who generated the fair designation?
No one sitting at this table could give that answer, and we could probably answer from our later witness.
So you did not.
I did not give it a fair rating.
You did not.
No, I didn't. Can we just remove it from the application so we can move along, or does it have to still be included?
The application certainly can be modified.
Do you want to remove it and then come back at another
I
time?
would like to also ask our zoning code official what her opinion is on this, because she is charged with oversight on tree removal applications and permitting. So,
So I would have to go with whatever the township forester
okay,
testifies the condition of the tree is. And then therefore, if the tree has to come down and it is not a healthy, mature tree, then we would remove it from the mitigation plan. But they would have to be a separate permit submitted in order to take that down. And then Mr. Wolowitz, if he's already examined that, he would just have to sign off that the tree is in poor condition and does need to come down. So I would defer
poor
to,
condition trees still have to be mitigated.
so I have to defer to the forester to tell me, is it almost dead? Is it, I mean, if it's a mature, healthy tree, then that's when we're mitigation. That's unfortunately hazardous is not within our ordinance.
And
That
fair
states-
and poor are also
Right.
carry with them a mitigation count. So,
So
I
that's
mean,
why I'm
and
saying.
actually at 41 time in the last meeting, your team acknowledged that.
So we'll just amend our application to remove the proposed removal of that tree, and it's a moot issue.
But, okay, you want to remove it from this application, but now we have testimony that the tree is extremely poor condition, hazardous, dying. I have to go to what the forester says on that.
Yeah, but it's not relevant this evening. It would be a
Take it off
totally
the
separate.
application.
Right,
Deal with it separately.
right. It's a totally,
We thought it might be easier dealing with this all together, but it's apparent that it's probably a lot simpler dealing with it separately. So it's not an issue that we intend to ignore. We can bring it up appropriately through a separate application.
Mr. McAvoy, did you have questions?
That was it with that one, and if the number was reduced to 16.
So the number has been reduced to 16 because number 8 is remaining. The number has been reduced to 16, and 8 was only one tree anyway. One tree mitigation.
Yeah. It's down to removing 16 trees because we're keeping tree number 8 and tree number 50, that pine tree is no longer part of the application. I just had one follow-up question for the witness, maybe two. When you walked the site, did you observe visible root growth into the curb or roads?
Yes.
So this isn't an issue where you need to do some kind of invasive testing to see if the roots are actually touching the road in the ground?
No.
That was visible for you?
Yeah, there was several trees that had the road was buckling due to the roots of the trees. Undermined the curb and the path.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burgess.
Anybody else from the board that has questions for Mr. Bartlett? Any members of the, do you have any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. And anyone, Alvaro, or do you have any questions? Okay, do any members of the public have any questions for Mr. Burgess? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of testimony, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr.
Saving the
Burgess.
best for last.
Mine comes out at 16.
Mr. Messera, given that the board is treating this as technically a new application, does Mr. Heller need to be resworn in?
yes, he should be resworn, yes. Can you state your name and address for the record?
Benjamin Heller, Heller.
Mr. Heller, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Heller.
Can we just take a 5-minute break? Sorry.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you. Forgive me, was Mr. Heller sworn in again?
Yes, sir.
Credentials. Good evening, Mr. Heller. Could you please tell us about your education and professional background, including any professional licenses that you might hold?
Sure thing. I am
We went through this the last time. We had accepted him as an expert in landscape architecture. I understand that you want to be, form a complete application, but he was here in March for this application.
That's fine. We can forego the voir dire if the board's okay with that.
Thank you.
Mr. Heller, were you hired by Wedgewood Gardens in connection with this application?
I was, and if I can, I'm going to take everyone through the plans that I've created as a replacement plan, if that's okay. Oh, sorry. If I can, I'm going to take everyone through the plans that I prepared, the tree replacement plans, in conjunction with the application. I do recognize, I would like to state this, I do recognize that my tree count was incorrect. It's my mistake, it's my error. I completely 100% agree with the 45 count that was issued in today's letter. It's my mistake, no excuses. Okay. The copies that you guys all have in front of you were submitted as part of the application. On your copies, you have red, which indicates the removal. On mine, I do not. My printer. But that said, majority of the trees that are being removed or proposed to be removed as we've talked about are, where am I? In this vicinity, I'm just going to start pointing, but at the top of your page, they sort of wrap around and then they come across here. As you can see on the plan, and as we've talked about, many of the trees are very close to the curbs. At the bottom of the page, what I think is really kind of important, and I'm not so sure, I believe, yes.
What are you referring to, please?
Apologies. This is the existing conditions and tree removal plan as part of the package that you all have. One of the things that I think is important as part of this, which you'll probably see, I believe you see it on the Falcons plan, is topography. At the bottom here of the page, which of course is the highest part of our property, the distance in between the curb and the actual sidewalk is a little bit sloped. At one point, I believe Dr. Gonzalez actually, we were talking about potentially even adding a little wall in here because it seemed like it was rather sloped. But my page one, it's called existing conditions and tree removal plan. It should have red on it on your copy. Okay. As you sort of round the corner, the slope is a little bit easier, I would say, on the distance in between the sidewalk and the curb. So it's not nearly as sloped, but it is still rather narrow. That one tree that we discussed, that we decided would remain, it is shown here as number 8. If you see it, it says Glitziot 17-inch, and the tree that we have just discussed and said that we would remove from this application is shown right here. It's the 37-inch Pinus strobus. It's the white pine.
Every single tree is 17 inches on your mapping. 17.
I get information that's given to me on a survey. I cannot change that. I'm not a licensed surveyor.
Mr. Heller, is there different sizes on the second page in your schedule of?
That's correct.
And ultimately, you're agreeing and deferring to the town's shade tree commission as to the amount of replacement trees?
That's correct. I'm deferring to both what we discussed while we were on site, which was with the town's arborist, it was with the board's arborist and the board's engineer, in addition to the list that was proposed by a licensed tree expert. That's what I have. That's the information that's given to me, and I am then to put that on my plan. I'm not a licensed tree expert. I'm not a licensed surveyor. I'm a licensed landscape architect. I take the information that is given to me by those professionals. I have to use those numbers. And as I said, I made a mistake on the calculations. I completely 100% agree with that. And I agree with what the zoning official had issued today in the form of the letter. The 45 trees, that is the correct calculation.
Does the fact that, well, let me put it differently, whether it's 45 trees, 450 trees, how many trees can be replanted?
Right. So I'm going to get to that right now. As I turn the page, while we were on site with the town's arborist, with the town's engineer, we recognized a few things. First and foremost, there are leaders that go to underground drainage systems that then lead into the inlets in the streets. We believe they lead to the inlets in the street. We cannot confirm that. They come from each of these buildings through the lawn, and to our knowledge, they could go left, they could go right. We're not entirely sure. They're old pipes. They're there. They must be working because we do not have a clog at this moment. That said, if I were to have designed this site, I believe it was probably around 50 years ago. I do not feel I, as a licensed landscape architect, can put my license on the here saying that that many trees were appropriate and planted in the appropriate locations. There is no way, as a licensed landscape architect, I would put a gladitia or a honey locust this close on a slope to between a curb and a sidewalk. I would not be doing that today. That is not something I can reasonably do. As a licensed landscape architect, I have certain standards that I must uphold my license to. I am responsible for the health, safety, and welfare of people who walk on these properties. That's what my license upholds. I
Mr.
cannot.
Heller, I just want to ask you quickly, when you were at the site in August, did you see any tree roots disturbing or causing damage to the surrounding curbs and roadways?
Yeah, most certainly. The roadways were as we've talked about, they were not in good condition. The sidewalks, to some extent, some of the sidewalks have listed at the joints, which is signs of the roots making their way to the surface.
And when you chose the location to replant the 22 trees, did you take into consideration, any potential adverse impact due to the growth of tree roots?
Absolutely. So not only am I trying to replant and replace trees in a respectful manner, I'm trying to do it for, one, the roadways, to make sure we're not doing this again in another 20, 30 years, whatever it may be. For all I know, 10 years it could have been. And two, to make sure that I'm not putting shade trees, large, deciduous shade trees, close to foundations of properties. That is one of the biggest no-nos that you can make. It will cause the same damage that we are having to the roads. It causes the same damage to foundations. And I constantly go to properties and I see someone who planted something way too tall, way too close to a foundation. And I'm not always concerned. I'm not always concerned about branches and the canopy negatively impacting the home nearly as much as I am concerned about the roots actually infiltrating and harming foundations to properties. That's one of the things I see constantly in the field. So as I put these trees back onto this property, I decided, from a design standpoint as well, that the appropriate spacing for these was no longer in between the sidewalk and the curb, but further back into the lawn, which left me to say, okay, what are the appropriate species for this space that I have? Again, responsible and reasonable species for these locations. If I were to have designed this brand new today, there's no way I would have put that many shade trees, and there's no way I would have put them that close to the streets.
Excuse me, Mr. Heller, are you saying that you contemplate replanting trees in between the sidewalk and the building as opposed to in between the sidewalk and the curbing where they currently are?
Correct, yeah. So there are certain locations, of course, I put one there, where we have the appropriate amount of space and the appropriate amount of depth. There are a lot of considerations a lot of factors you need to take into consideration when you're actually proposing plants. Which leads me to the next point, which is, of course, the species of the trees. We discussed this almost ad nauseum on site with both the engineer and, of course, the board's arborist, and we all agreed that there is no way that but a large shade tree should be planted that close to a foundation of a residence. It's just not a reasonable or a responsible thing that a licensed landscape architect should be doing.
Mr. Heller, are there other shade trees that you selected, though, in other places besides in between the sidewalk and foundation?
Absolutely, yes. So there are other shade trees that are scattered throughout. Now, the trees that are proposed, yes, they are rather upright in nature, but the intent is that those root systems are not going to negatively impact both either the sidewalks, the foundations of the properties, and there's a third factor here, which I haven't brought up yet. There are a number of leaders that actually lead, like I had mentioned prior, from the building out to the street. We can see them, we can see cleanouts. We do not know where they turn or where they go. I am not going to negatively impact the drainage system just for the sake of putting in large shade trees to replant. As we heard before, drainage is always a concern, and it's something that I have to take into consideration as well when I'm placing trees back onto a property. I cannot put trees over existing drainage. I cannot put them within a certain proximity of that drainage as well. And so once again, you're limited to what you can actually do from both a species perspective and a location perspective. The species I've selected are considered shade trees. They might not have the canopy that is currently existing today, but they are considered shade trees, with the exception of a few that are also flowering trees as well. We are completely understood that if those flowering trees are not considered replacement trees, that's fine. We do agree that there needs to be some aesthetic value to this as well, and not having trees in certain locations is certainly not acceptable. So where we could, we felt it would be appropriate to place flowering trees scattered in throughout. This is a really specific type of planting plan. This is somewhere in between designing something for both a community and a walkway where you have sidewalks, etc., something more like that you would find out in a neighborhood, and a foundation planting. This is somewhere in between the two. And it's very often, I'm sure you've been to many properties where you see that tree that's an evergreen or something like that that's been so close to a foundation, and it might look amazing. Usually it's either a holly or a birch that you see, and it's very close to a foundation. And how often you probably have asked that homeowner, do you have issues with that foundation? They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know how to tell you. So my tree replacement plan is what I feel is responsible to put trees back onto this property, given topography, given the drainage that I can see, what I know, given the proximity to both the streets, given the sidewalks, and of course the residences themselves. I understood there was testimony prior, there was questioning prior regarding rain gardens. I'm not going to say I'm a rain garden expert, but I have worked on rain garden projects. More specifically, I worked on the New York City right-of-way bioswale project, which is still ongoing so many years later, which was a large green infrastructure project put on by, it was joint between the New York Parks Department as well as New York DEP. Those were they considered right-of-way bioswales, which is when you would have what we're referring to as a rain garden in between the curb and the sidewalk. We don't have the room to do that type of a detail. We can certainly explore the opportunity to do something in sort of the central area. It is rather sloped. We would have to analyze the soils. One of the things that I think we don't talk about too often, when we should, is when you're designing a rain garden, it's great to capture water, but is it going to actually go anywhere, right? The intent is to capture water and to actually put it back into the aquifer, and you need to know that you have proper soils to be able to do that. My understanding is that it might be clay soil, and so we might not have the opportunity to do that, but it's certainly something we would explore and entertain if that's what the board would like to see. The other thing to keep in mind is that this is a rather sloped hill, so we do have a lot of water coming off of that. I don't know how much we would be able to capture without it just kind of short of shooting over. And again, we can look at that from an engineering perspective, certainly, but those are really the factors that we need to take a look at.
Mr. Harris, I want to ask you a few follow-up questions. Does your tree replacement plan have any general notes or conditions to help protect the surrounding areas?
You know, that's a great point. I do not, but I would gladly add, I have general notes, of course, I always have general notes. I can put a tree protection detail on if that's something that we, as a condition of approval, if that's something we need.
Oh, I believe the tree report is, that's in the tree preservation report, the surrounding trees area. I was just wondering in your general notes section if you provided any types of general or specific conditions that might be relevant.
Yeah, sure. So it has a general, general notes that talks about what you're supposed to do throughout the course of construction, but I can certainly put a tree protection detail on the plan, which would probably suffice a little bit better, stand up a little bit better than the notes.
When taking into consideration your plan's mitigation efforts, including the replacement of 22 trees, do you anticipate the removal of these 7 trees will cause any negative effects, such as soil erosion or increased dust concentration?
No, I mean, the reality of them is that some of these trees are pretty uprooted. They are definitely, I would say right now, probably providing more erosion than anything else. That's generally what happens when the tree gets way too big. It actually erodes much more than you think it does. And that's something that I would say as a licensed landscape architect.
Would there be a decrease in soil fertility?
Decrease in soil fertility? That's something that you would have to ask the tree expert or the engineer. I can't testify to that.
Do you foresee a deleterious effect on the land's physical condition, given the trees proposed to be removed and your tree replacement plan?
No, and again, if it were the wish of the board, we're trying to incorporate shade trees, but if it's the wish of the board to beautify this again, we can most certainly add additional flowering trees if that's something we need to see. I just need to pick species that are responsible and correct for the space that we have.
And to your knowledge, does the removal of the 16 trees destroy any buffer between a residential and non-residential use?
No.
And would removing the 16 trees create a condition that could endanger the life of someone on the property or the property itself?
No.
At this time, I have no further questions for Mr. Heller.
Thank you for your comprehensive testimony. And so thank you for addressing the discrepancy. Just help me understand if I'm reading the plans correctly. So the first page has the 17 trees. The second page has a listing of 22 replacements, but we're noting that there should be 45 replaced.
There should be 45
Can you
replaced.
talk to, I mean, look, this property is pretty tight on green space. Can you help us at least understand where you think the areas where you put the remaining trees would be so that when we debate and deliberate on it? Sorry?
Where would I put the remaining trees?
Correct.
My understanding is that the applicant would pay and those would go into a tree fund for whatever we cannot place
okay.
on the property, and the township's able to do what they plant them elsewhere within town. That would make sense, unless that's incorrect. That's my understanding of what happens to those funds.
Did we get, sorry, Ms. Pierce, did we get testimony about that previously, that was going to happen, or did I miss that? Get testimony that there will only be 22 tree replacements and the rest would be mitigation? Okay. So the applicant is stipulating that you're going to replace 22 trees and contribute the rest via the mitigation funds, the mitigation fees?
I would be happy to place more flowering trees on the property if they're considered.
Well, I'm just asking I guess maybe that's a question for yourself since you're representing the applicant.
The applicant will absolutely contribute towards the tree fund for any excess trees. Again, our concern is whether we can responsibly plant the number of trees required by the ordinance. In this case, it's Mr. Heller's professional opinion that we can only responsibly plant 22.
Okay. I guess that wasn't clear, and if you did say it, then I just missed it, and I
No, I may not
So
have- I may
maybe
not
can
have
we
made that.
just take a step back just for 2 minutes and just say, I guess repeat and take everybody through what the plan is. So the plan is to plant 22 trees because you feel that's sustainable, and the rest is going to be part of the mitigation or whatever the fees are to be contributed. Is that what the plan is?
Yes, we will stipulate and defer to the calculation that was provided today by the Shade Commission and the zoning official. But it's just our position that we can only replant 22 out of those 45 or whatever number it is. And we're committed to paying any fees in excess of that because we're not trying to, again, skirt our obligations here. We just want to make sure we comply with the town and do everything that we're supposed to do.
That's fine.
And if I may, on that, 17 deciduous, 5 flowering, I can definitely put more flowering if that's something we would want. Typically, towns don't allow flowering to count as a replacement tree, so in reality, the number really is only that 17. But if you would want more flowering trees,
At our last meeting, I told you, or I asked you to please consult our list, which included ornamental shade trees, which are flowering, as well as major shade trees. That was the last thing that I asked of you to do, and now you're saying, well, they don't even count, but they do. They count.
When we consulted with the town's arborist, we were told that it would be better if we could do shade trees and not ornamental
I
trees.
didn't say what was better. I take
We'll do whatever you want.
what they say into a huge account. And of course, I would rely on his testimony if he thinks it's better. However, those trees listed in a list that you probably maybe didn't see count. They count.
I'm sorry, are you speaking about trees that were removed that
No,
are
I'm
not part of this
speaking about trees
application
to be
or?
replaced, sir. I'm telling you that at the end of our prior meeting in March, we pointed out that you had only chosen something like 2 or 3 different species. You basically had only picked 1 or 2 or 3 species to do the entire site planting with. We said that that was a very bad thing, because if one tree goes and catches a disease, they all do. So we asked you to please consult our list in our zoning code of recommended tree species. That's all we asked.
And we did, and our
I'm
licensed
not sure you
architect.
did, because
I'm
he
sorry,
just said, no,
our
flowering
landscape
trees don't
architect has
count.
chosen a specific types of trees based upon his professional opinion. But again, if the town wants us to put in whatever type of tree, we'll do it.
So
We
long-
don't really care. We just want to get the roads done.
Yeah,
I can't say that, though, because so long as it's responsible.
okay.
Your mic. It's all.
I'm sorry. I said so long as it's responsible for the site. And in addition to that, I did look at your list. Okay, I did look at your list. But in addition, I also had a site meeting with the board's professionals, which was also requested of us. And at that meeting, this was what we all agreed was the best idea. It was not just me. I mean, I would love to say that's just me.
I think you said, in my opinion, this is what I feel is responsible.
Yes.
Only 22 trees. That does not include their opinion. You said, in my opinion.
Well,
I'm saying you testified for your own behalf, on your own behalf.
in my
You're
opinion,
not testifying on their behalf.
I'm correct. I cannot do
Thank
that.
you.
And in my opinion, that's correct.
So I guess going back, if I may just finish up. So I know we took that pine off the list.
Correct.
That being said, that space would theoretically be opened up. You know, and even taking that pine down, although you are not required to replace,
Sure.
in the effort to meet us in the middle somewhat, could you put a couple of additional trees over there?
Certainly. A little slope, but we can do it.
That's it, I'm done, thank you.
So I think the point here is, I'm just going to make a statement real quick about the honey locust. This development was built in 1960, and I grew up in a development in Verona that was built in 1959. A group of people loved that tree back then, and they were all over. But this is a perfect example of why we're hearing from our commissions and from our experts that you should plant a variety, because you have the same tree there and they're causing the same problem throughout the entire complex. The street I grew up on, they just redid a couple of years ago and they took them all down. I do agree they aren't, when you're talking about replacing curbs and sidewalks, they are invasive to them and they break them up. And I know that if you dig closely to them, you could weaken them and they will fall. So I don't disagree with taking down the trees that you have listed. I just think looking over this entire application, and really this northwest corner, the lower side closer to you, the upper side of that page, you have plenty of courtyards there that I think you can add trees to. Behind the building, I'm going to bring it up again. That area back there, I've watched it during rainstorms. It's a river on a heavy rainstorm. And I'm looking on this plan and I'm seeing trees there, and I'm seeing trees up in the parking lot off of Rose Terrace that I don't think they're still there. So I don't know if they were removed at some point, but going by this 9/20/24 plan, I think some additional trees look like they've been removed. And this is my point of why I think there should be an effort to put more trees on this property rather than paying into the fund, because paying into the fund doesn't decrease the amount of water that's going downhill. I know you talked about underground drainage and you don't want to hit it. This complex just redid the drainage not too long ago, so they should have a detailed plan of where the drain piping is. Someone's got to be able to find it or contact the company that did it and go out and mark it and plant trees around it accordingly.
So if I may interject, is the board's concern that they want a particular species to be used, or they just want more variety?
I think what the board, we rely on more trees, number one, because obviously it would lessen the runoff from the property. I know you're not increasing the pervious pavement or coverage, but this property has some severe runoff during heavy storms. So any mitigation of that, and I think you have to replace trees, I think now is the time to mitigate it. You're going to be digging up the property, so a couple more trees, really.
How many trees? Because we have a professional testifying as to the amount he thinks, but if you think a different amount, tell us. I mean, how do we get to that resolution?
I mean, I just gave you some specific areas that maybe should be revisited.
If I may.
Madam
Go
Chairman,
ahead.
can I just, I think to try to bifurcate the issues. I've heard people say that we have no problem with removing the trees. Okay,
I just want to, before we get there, because the mitigation is going to change right now, because there was a tree that was removed because it was damaged.
There was a tree.
As the VEC had mentioned.
Yeah.
Where was that tree located?
I actually don't have so during the construction that took place, there was a tree that had its roots cut. And that tree had to be removed because it became immediately hazardous. So I actually, in my letter, added it back in because I feel that if this project caused that tree to come down, this project should replace that tree as well.
So where is that on your list?
It was in front of 2 Wedgwood.
Is that number 8, the one that's all the way at the
No.
bottom?
No, number 8 came back in. So that's where I'm back to 17 trees because I counted the one that we had to take down in front of 2 Wedgwood because the roots were cut. And I think to Deputy Mayor's point, from November 24 through August of this year, 9 trees were removed that were dead, right? So they weren't part of this project. They were approved because they were dead. So if those trees were taken, can't that area where those dead trees, and I believe that's the corner that you're speaking of that are not there anymore, trees be put in that location because 9 have been taken down that were determined to be hazardous or dead.
Well, I think the issue goes to, can trees be planted there, and if so, how many? Because again, we're trying to figure out, again, we're agreeing with whatever number the town says. Whatever you say, we're okay with it. What we're trying to figure out, though, is how many trees can be responsibly planted on this site, because the statute or the ordinance explicitly states that if the property cannot physically accommodate, then the applicant can contribute to the tree fund. Now, it's our professional's testimony that 22 trees can be replaced responsibly. If anybody has suggestions as to where they could be or how many, in consultation with Mr. Heller, we'll take you up on that. We're not trying to play games here.
Hold on. Respectfully, first of all, you can't say on one hand, we'll do whatever the board wants, because you obviously can't do that according to your own professional.
Yes.
Second of all, it's not for us to dictate to you how many more trees. The board is saying we are sympathetic to your position that you need to remove an excessive number of trees as per the ordinance. What we're trying to get to, and I'm speaking somewhat for the board, so excuse me, what the optimal number of trees is to balance maintaining the environmental balance of the site and preventing additional water issues what this whole town has with just contributing money to a fund, which is noble. And so I think now what our question to you is, what do we think, given the inputs from the board, is can we add 5 to 10 more trees in some of these areas without it being detrimental to the rest of the project?
Why are you saying no?
Yeah, and if you look at the map, it seems like there's a lot of areas.
It's deceptive, if I may. Okay. That's I'm sorry.
The area between, that he's specifically referring to, is this a lot of empty space between the backyards of, not Floyd, Hamilton, and the back of the property that backs into those backyards on Hamilton.
Madam Chair, if I can.
Yes, please.
The board has not yet decided if the trees that they propose to remove, they will be permitted to remove. Until that is decided, we don't know how many replacement trees are required. So I think respectfully, we should go through the threshold issue of, yes, they can remove the existing trees, or no, they can't remove the existing trees. And then the board should address how many trees are required and then the plan for those trees. But until the board agrees on how many can be removed, all of this other speak is irrelevant because we don't know the number. So we don't know the number. So it could be 20, it could be 16, it could be 40. But I've been trying. But we have to take it a step at a time.
We should take a vote.
No. I want Greg to miss the whole Mets game.
No, I'm being serious. We're speaking in a vacuum.
No, he has a point. I just don't like backing into this parking spot and then being told at the end of the whole thing, we're not going to do what you want us to do. And I do believe that there is more room on this property to be able to fit the trees, should the board approve all 16 trees for removal, which would constitute 45 replacements, of which less than half are being accommodated on your site. I don't believe that that is acting as responsibly as is being put forth. I believe that that's being very, I really do think that there's plenty of more room on the site. And, well, you're the guy, but
No.
I would also like to
Yeah,
ask our guys.
if I may.
So are you rejecting the uncontroverted testimony? Because right now, there's nobody else to say that there should be. And I'd be welcome to hear Mr. Wallowitz as to any trees, because again, we're trying to be
Mr.
cooperative here.
Wallowitz didn't walk the entire site and survey the entire site. He looked at the trees that you proposed to take down, right?
Yes, that's why we're here.
I mean, this isn't an adversarial proceeding. There's no plaintiff, there's no defendant, there's no complainant, there's no respondent. You're here because the organization, the condo you represent, wants to do a repaving project. You're here to get a yes. So I would encourage you to take it down a little bit, please.
I mean no disrespect. I'm just trying to clarify the issues here so we can speak productively.
Does the board feel that we should move forward with voting on 16 tree removals? Or are there any trees that you might have questions about to our expert?
I would like to have
Sure.
questions to the expert.
Please.
Yeah. So I keep dwelling on this, the distance of the tree from the curb, because just from my survey, I didn't find them all within 2 feet of the curb. Some were significantly further, and I don't have exact measurements, but I know it surely wasn't 2 feet. So my question is, are there any trees that are sufficiently far away from the curb that wouldn't be impacted negatively, significantly negatively, and could be preserved?
Of the 16.
Of the 16.
And that question is for you, Reg.
Good, thanks for clarifying, 'cause I don't know who it went to. Well, we know that the tree number 8, which was saved, was 3 feet away from the curb, and in field inspections, we realized that has ample room. Keep in mind, there's 2 or 3 trees out of those 17 that were rotted and have cavities. They're included on this table. So.
On your table. Yes, but yes.
And on the they're part of the 16, so this is not all 16 healthy trees. So we have that issue there also. So most of the trees, when you see a tree growing and it likes to expand into where it wants to go and it hits the curb, it turns, and the roots, when the roots seek the curb, hits an abutment, turns, and everything else, and that's where the excavation is. And we're looking at every tree. It might be 2 feet, it might be less than 2 feet, but significant damage would be done to the root system during a construction process.
Yeah, so
So,
I guess my question is for the trees that are beyond 2 feet. So there's the tree number 8, which we say,
Right.
which is 3 feet. But I'm just, from my survey, I thought I saw some trees, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I saw trees that were beyond the 2 feet, 3 feet or more. Is that really not the case? All of them were within 2 feet?
I didn't measure, but everything that we measured, when we went out there and when Tom was with me and experts were out there, we're looking at everything and the rooting structures of the trees. It might be 2 feet, it might be 2.5. But bottom line, it was detrimental amount of excavation damage to the tree.
So would it be fair to say that it's somewhat inconsequential, the actual distance, because no matter what, the root structure would be adversely affected by the excavation?
I would say that's correct.
And so therefore, it's your opinion that you would agree that these 16 trees should be subject to removal?
Yes.
So why can't you do what he just did? That's a nice lawyer right there.
It's not my witness.
I'm sorry?
It wasn't my witness.
I was talking about how he was comporting himself, like a gentleman. So, Dave, does that satisfy your
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
So is it the board's opinion that we should move forward on voting for the 16 trees?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to approve the removal of the 16 trees on the list,
See, but you know what? I don't
minus the...
like there's no contingency.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes,
Of our
please.
attorney?
Yes.
If someone makes a motion, we put this to a vote to remove the 16 trees, can they just get up and walk out and
Yes,
they're done?
it's conditional upon a
Or
second.
can we,
No,
can I finish? Can we make a motion with conditions
Yes.
before we vote on it?
Correct. Yes.
Correct, okay. I think that's what
So
we
can
should
we
do.
work,
moving forward.
should we work the conditions out first?
Yes.
Okay.
And then modify
Sorry.
your motion.
So I'll
Yep.
table my motion for the moment.
If I may, if you'd like a condition that's satisfactory to the board, such as I'll work with the town's arborist on site to create an appropriate tree replacement plan, if that's something that you guys would like.
But we can't vote until.
I know, no, I know.
I think
Well,
we want to try to get
we
to,
can- The board can, if in fact, no
Conditional.
tree be removed until the arborist agrees with, on the tree replacement plan.
what about, so I think where we want though is we want some sort of range of how many more trees we think we can get.
Right. And so this is where Tom and Rich kind of come in.
Well, you can do a not less than.
Well, I mean, we were just asking about this entire swath of property that seems to have some pretty large trees and a lot of blank space behind the buildings that back into the backyards. And a lot of them are along the fence, but some of them are real close to the foundation. We didn't plant them, you didn't plant them, but they're there. But there's tons of space. And some of these trees are listed on page 1 as being 24 inches round, and they're dots on your plan.
Again, we don't know how many trees need to be replaced, so now we're diverting back.
But we're making a conditional
Right,
approval.
but,
We're
okay.
conditioning the 16 trees with the total. Are we not doing that? Isn't that what we just discussed?
We got to discuss conditions.
And I guess
The
before,
motion's been tabled, you do need to ask the members of the public.
I was about to say, I skipped a step. Should we ask the public to
Yeah,
comment?
yeah. All right, so for the purposes of our discussion, it's moved right now. We will be deliberating after public comment. Anybody from the public that wants to, well, is this witness finished? We don't even know that this witness is finished.
No further questions.
But we do think that the witness might be able to help answer more questions.
I'm done with answering the witness.
Okay. Does anyone from the public have any questions for this witness? Yes. Go ahead, ma'am. You gonna step to the microphone?
Yes.
We're gonna- Thank you. I'm gonna call you.
Thank you. For the species of trees on site, oh, my apologies, Stephanie Brackfeld? For the species of tree that we have on site, how far away from the trunk do the roots extend?
There's, if I may, I'm going to show you just over here. Generally speaking, this isn't a great example, but these trees right here, those are the existing ones that are on site. Those are shown by a surveyor that say the actual size. The roots extension, so to speak, the rule of thumb that we like to use is what's called the drip line. So if you've got the actual canopy of the tree, it's something like this, right? You're using that end to sort of dictate, but that's not a perfect science.
So as a follow-up, I asked that question because I'm curious, for the site that's been discussed between the back of Building 2 and the backyards of Hamilton, is there a space to plant trees there without running the risk that roots will grow into the foundation?
I mean, it depends on the species, and that's why I'm trying to propose upright trees where I can, and like I like to use that word reasonably and responsibly, just because I don't like that idea that there can be growth into foundations. I just, irresponsible as a landscape architect.
Hi, Carol Thomas, Verona and Verona Shade Tree Commission. So my list of comments has changed dramatically. I'm sorry that things have gotten heated. I have to ask questions. Yes, okay. When is public comment?
It's after they close their.
Got it. So the species, Mr. Heller, the species you've chosen run counter to some of the suggestions that we had made. What I'm hearing you say is that you're picking more columnar species because their drip lines are shorter and their roots don't extend as much?
Yeah. That's sort of the crux of why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's exactly it. And given the drainage, where the drainage may or may not be from the underground, given the proximity to both the street, there's the sidewalk as well, and then the foundations of the homes, it's a really tight space. So yeah, that's correct.
That would have been helpful if there had been some responses to the communications that I had sent. Mr. Wallace, do you feel the same way Mr. Heller does about why the columnar trees should be there, the narrow upright trees as opposed to shade trees?
Yes, based on our site visit and looking at all the obstructions, I agree.
So you're agreeing, just so I get this, when I'll drop that ornamental trees and the upright trees would be better for those areas between the curb and the sidewalk?
They're not always going between the curb and sidewalk, they're going between the sidewalk and the building.
So between the sidewalk and the building,
right?
I know I want to make this question. Between the sidewalk and the building, you're still saying that ornamentals and the upright trees are better because there's less. So in saying that, I think it's disingenuous of all of us to say that there isn't going to be a change in stormwater runoff and stormwater and rain. Those smaller trees just can't possibly absorb the kind of the volume that the older trees are taking. And we can accept that as long as we're honest about that. I will leave the rest of my questions for comments then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Are there any other questions for this witness from the members of the public? Seeing none.
I just had one more,
I'm
the size.
closing the public comment.
Sorry. The size designations that you have noted, like 24-inch, that refers to
Caliper.
The caliper.
Of the 24 inches that are shown, is twofold. If you look on the actual survey, as was stated earlier, the survey doesn't necessarily correctly indicate the actual caliper. You got to go to this tree removals table to actually look at this size and the actual caliper. Was that on page? This is page 1 of my existing conditions. We're agreeing that Mr. Walowitz's may be slightly more accurate, but we agree that that is the correct caliper of the tree. Did I answer your question? I'm sorry. It's late.
No, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. I was talking about the replacements.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That it can't be the caliper.
The planting schedule, 2.5-inch caliper. Yeah, that's a standard nursery spec for the size of the tree that actually goes in. So 2.5-inch caliper tree, balled and burlapped. There's actually a tool that you can measure, but in the nursery they measure the actual caliper of the tree. 2.5 inch is relatively standard. Generally speaking, the larger you get, the more difficult the tree actually has to take. So 2.5 is sort of our standard for what we like to plant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question for Mr. Wallowitz. Looking at the plans, it's the front page or the second page. Basically, this bottom line between the edge of a backyard and between where they share a fence, basically. There's two pretty open areas that have absolutely no tree cover.
Assuming this is accurate.
They don't appear to be paved. I'll pull it up on Google Earth. There's cherry. It just looks like there's quite a bit of open area there. You're shaking your head no. No, I'm just saying, okay. But I don't.
I think it could be looked at, but I also think from the first time I was out there, I think that's where the primary wire is, so we got to make sure the species rights fit that. I'm not sure.
Even if they're smaller trees, they don't have to be pin oaks that are going to
Agreed.
grow,
Like I said, we go with the site and what the site dictates.
Deputy Mayor, you had pointed out a couple of other areas where trees might be accommodated. Could you be more specific?
Yeah, when I'm looking at this plan and I'm seeing the driveway that goes up to the southeast, if you look along the street, there's three big trees that you're not taking down. You have a 20-inch, there's a 20-inch, and I believe an 18. And you have islands between you definitely have a good apron there between the street and the sidewalk there. Like, these are areas I think that you can add trees. You're taking one down, it's actually the second tree you're taking down.
I'm sorry, are you referring to this area?
Tree number 2, yes.
In here?
If that's coming down, look at that entire courtyard right there. And it just seems like that's another area you can add a tree.
So when you're there, actually, this tree on the corner here is really quite large, and it creates quite a canopy. So that's the other thing that we have to take into consideration. The hard part about a tree survey in general, or a survey like this, a licensed survey, one that provides, they're not always capturing the canopy. They are capturing the actual caliper, or usually capturing the caliper.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take those considerations into effect as well. So if it's going to be completely shaded the entire time, there might be some species that you can get in, but Rich can certainly opine on that as well. When you're there on site, it's a site condition. You gotta see if it allows
it. I totally understand. It's got to be a site visit.
Yeah.
I would gladly join you if needed.
Which is why we're happy to do that as a condition. If that's something that we need to do to develop the tree replacement plan in conjunction with the township, we're happy to do that.
Absolutely. Okay.
I'm going to jump in here and talk about tree replacement plan. If we're talking about adding additional trees for carbon sequestration and water.
Carol, it's closed.
I'm sorry.
Public's closed.
I understand. Don't get upset. We're trying to figure out how to move forward.
Public was closed.
I have a good suggestion, but I'll wait. You tell me what I can come up.
Public comment is still on.
Yeah, the final public comment is still available, but this public was closed.
So,
Well, I have a question.
I am going to reopen public for one question from Ms.
I didn't hear
Thomas.
public comment closed.
I did.
I apologize then.
No, this is a public question. You still have a question?
I do.
Please. I'm sorry, it's just,
If we're looking at additional trees for water management and carbon sequestration, can we look at adding shrubs along the back of the houses on Cumberland? Along this side here, there's been 5 trees taken down that haven't been accounted for. Kathleen might have talked about those earlier. These were taken down when the first curbing was done in the back there. So all of these houses back here are just bare open to this driveway. Can we look at some kind of shrub line, green fence along Cumberland that will help with some of this carbon sequestration? I'm sorry, I apologize.
I guess to answer, I was just going to.
What I'm going to propose is that
Should I
as a
answer?
condition.
Should I
She's
answer?
gonna answer her question.
Okay.
If you don't mind. If you don't mind.
Is there room?
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
There wouldn't be that.
I mean, I don't know, but I don't know that I would add trees necessarily. Again, we're right next. I mean, shrubs. We can add shrubs, I guess, but I'm not so sure that that's part of the application. I guess because it's tree replacement. If it's a condition of approval that we need to add shrubs, we can add shrubs.
The ordinance doesn't permit shrubs to be used or count towards the tree replacement. And I guess Mr. Heller's saying he's not sure whether or not you're saying to add shrubs to count towards tree replacement or just as a
Well, I think
general
it would just
mitigation
be
effort.
as, you know.
It's a condition.
It could certainly be just a condition.
We can add it as a
I mean, you know,
condition.
If the applicant would be willing to agree to a condition, then
Yes.
the ordinance would not, you know, we wouldn't have to look specifically to the ordinance.
But
We're-
Mr. Heller, is there room?
Uh,
What is the spatial, what
it-
is the space there?
it's nominal. I mean, we're talking about 3 feet at most. If you look at the property line, at most, I mean, 2 to 3 feet.
They have no room to grow.
Yeah. So.
They would just, unless they could, you know, you're stealing some of the neighbor's backyard.
Right.
I
know.
Right.
So
I understand that.
can I propose that?
Well,
as-
sorry, just to Mr. Macera's point, there is no person's backyard. Everything that's on the outside of the buildings is considered common property that.
No, it's the property.
To the other, I understand. Forgive me.
Property line.
So Mr. Heller has a lot of input from, right, this community and this board, and you also have our list of trees, right, appropriate planting. You have our feedback on that we would like for you to plant additional trees or plants as opposed to contributing to the tree fund. So you have all these inputs. Why don't we just make that as a condition that they come back with a plan that we're aligned with, that has all these considerations as a condition of removal of the tree.
If I may, do you think we can do that as a condition that we do it in conjunction with the arborist rather than coming back to the board? It's up to you.
I certainly want the arborist's input, but I also think that the landscape, but, time out.
No, sorry.
We're gonna take 5 for a second.
No, we have to be on the record.
Okay, how do we go about making a determination while still floating a plan that we have yet to approve? Meaning the replanting plan is basically in flux because it's not been completed according to this board's wishes. It seems that a majority of the board members have been vocal about wishing for more trees on the site than are proposed. So with that said, how do we move forward to allow the removal of the trees without a solid conditional plan for replanting?
That a condition be that the applicant be permitted to remove the identified trees, provided that prior to removal, the applicant obtain approval from Richard Waltowitz as to the number of trees, the species of trees, and the total number of trees to be removed.
That
be
is
replaced.
completely acceptable to
To
us.
be replaced.
To be replaced.
That way, we can consult with Mr. Walowitz and the board can defer to his determination rather than going around in circles.
Excuse me, but I do think that the board may also want to partake in that discussion. We do have a landscape committee.
Well, if that's the case, then there's no reason to give them
An approval
an
tonight?
approval tonight.
Okay.
What we were,
What if you, so we mentioned this before, sorry to interrupt, just benchmarking it to say no less than 5 trees, because then at least we have an anchor.
right, that's what I
Gives them
suggested
flexibility to
before.
leave an
No-
anchor.
right, no less than the number, no less than a certain number of trees that they would have to replace. I mean, we all agree that it's no less than 18 or 22.
So
yeah,
make it
sure.
27 and see if you can make
Well,
it
That is
workable.
way short of,
I understand,
But
I'm trying
again,
to
it's-
balance, though,
he
I'm trying
did
to,
say he could add some,
I'm,
Flowering trees,
my personal
ornamental.
opinion is I'm just trying to balance here.
The question was, how is the board still protected without coming up with a number?
Right.
Okay. If the board has to make the determination, in my mind, of whether it will rely on Richard or not. Okay. If the board is not going to entirely rely on Richard, then I don't suggest that there's any reason to give a conditional approval, quite honestly. Although, some people might feel differently and say, as long as it's a minimum of 22 or 24 or 26, but I don't know that that really is satisfactory, because then, the board is saying 26, and Richard might say, you know what, I only see room for 24. So then what? Then you're kind of taking Richard's expertise out of the
right.
equation.
Well, that's sort of the problem, because he hasn't studied the site in order to be able to determine what he
Well,
thinks.
that's why you give him the opportunity to do that and leave it to his discretion.
So Greg, could we condition this, say, 2/3 of replacement, so you'd be at 30? And if you can't hit 30, then you have to come back to the board,
No, well,
or no?
because it's still, then you're still making
We're
it,
still in this.
they're not getting any, they're not getting anything out of tonight's evening, because they can't promise that they can get 30. The way I'm suggesting it is, if you want to move it forward. If you don't want to move it forward, then, that's the board's discretion.
Can I make a suggestion that we close witness testimony and take public comment and then deliberate on the rest of this
Yes,
point?
okay, yeah, that's a great suggestion, thank you. Yes. We are closing the witness testimony. I open to public comment right now. So anybody who wants to share a public comment on this application, please go to the lectern, the mic, and state your name one more time, Professor, and thank you.
Good evening, Stephanie Brackfeld. I would just like to offer the comment that when the site is walked to determine the replacement plan, that the sewage lines, a map of that should be made available. It occurs to me that that strip of land that we've been discussing, where there's not that many trees, that might be the reason why.
Thank you very much. Anybody else have any public comment?
I think that mic works.
Hi, Carol Thomas again, Verona, Shade Tree Commission. First of all, let me apologize before. I didn't understand that public question period had ended, so I apologize. I understand that the applicant really doesn't see the value in asking to take down the trees when they're doing this major project. At least that's the impression I'm getting. That may not be the case. It's the impression I'm getting. But that is the procedure we have done here in Verona. Just, I want to hit some points that the Shade Tree Commission has been, our meetings we've talked about. We sent a resolution to the planning board this last week, and in essence, it said that the Verona Shade Tree Commission resolution to the planning board stating that the plans include removing 17 or more trees from the site. Well, we know it's about 16, 17 trees from the site. That at least 3 varieties of trees were recommended by Roots Landscape Architect that are columnar style, and 1 variety is a beech, and 2 suggestions were small shade trees. Those upright and ornamental trees provide, in our opinion, inadequate shade and minimal leaf canopy, and the beech trees at present are succumbing to beech leaf disease. Be it therefore now resolved that the Verona Shade Tree Commission does urge Roots Landscape Architects and Wedgwood Development Incorporated to utilize full-size deciduous shade trees such as white or pin oak, red or sugar maple, beech, hickory, etc. We've had that discussion. I understand a little better why those aren't being recommended. I still will defer to Mr. Walowitz's expert opinion on that. The inconsistency in the numbers of replacements have changed since last February. I'm glad to hear that now we're looking at, you're agreeing, or the applicant is agreeing that whatever number you come up with, and they're just going to throw money at, they're going to go with the 22 or whatever they can get in and throw money at replacing them. Maybe we can use that money to look at something else around the complex. We have other places in town we can plant, but we're losing wildlife habitat in the area, we're losing air filtration in the area. We can work with the Shade Tree Commission and the Environmental Commission and in town, your Landscape Committee, and try and use whatever money they're paying into to replace what we can there.
That would be private, oh, I'm sorry, not my turn to speak.
We have said from the beginning, the Shade Tree Commission has asked for a full assessment of all the trees on site. We're very happy to see that one eastern pine, the plan was to take that down. I'm sorry that got derailed today. That is a dangerous tree. It just made sense that when you're taking down 17 other large trees and you have your tree company there, that you take that down at the same time. Hopefully we can work that one out. To address the stormwater management issues, we encourage the landscape architect and Wedgwood to really consider some rain gardens or bioswales in the area. There will be additional runoff. I know that the testimony was that there is no room for that, Mr. Heller. I know you're busy, but maybe we can take a look at that. Yeah, I had a short notes and then it changed after all this. Okay, that should do it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. It's funny, Carol had just said, we could maybe take some of those funds and put some more trees on their site. And I'm like, we just want them to do that without exchanging funds. We just want them to add more trees to the site, if there's any way to do that. So, I don't know. Would you like to close your case?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Yeah, public comment is closed at this time. Did I close prematurely? Did anyone want to say? You good? Okay, public comment is closed.
Bear with me 1 moment. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the considerable amount of time tonight to hear this application. Through the testimony of our professionals, we've demonstrated that the association is undertaking a road repavement project that is done with the purpose of complying with state law, and that work necessarily and inherently involves causing damage to trees. The association cannot do that without violating the town's prohibition on tree mutilation. The ordinance sets forth certain criteria which the applicant must demonstrate will not be negatively impacted by the removal of the trees. And through our testimony, and even through Dr. Gonzalez, there was nothing to indicate that there was be an impaired drainage conditions, although we're committed to working with the township and board to address any concerns that they do have. There would be no increase of dust concentration. There wouldn't be a deleterious effect on the land's physical condition when you consider the tree replacement plan. Well, I know that's an open issue right now. It would not destroy a buffer between residential and residential uses, non-residential uses, and it would not endanger life or property within the property. And even if that criteria has not been satisfied, the applicant submits that it is appropriate to grant relief under the hardship exception because we are stuck in a rock in a hard place. We have to do this paving project to comply with state law, but we cannot remove the trees without violating the town's ordinance. We are committed to working with the board, the town, and its professionals to reach an appropriate middle ground. We've relied on our landscape architect as to the amount of trees that can be responsibly replanted. We know that the planning board feels like there could be more, which is why we're asking to have the conditional approval to remove the 16 trees, provided that the Verona's tree forester agrees with the tree replacement plan, because I guess what I'm trying to say is, if our landscape architect agrees on a particular number in species, and the township's forester also agrees on a particular number in species, that should be adequate. I don't want the board to feel like we are purposely, choosing fewer trees to replant. That's not our intention, and to remedy that, we are committed to working with the forester to determine and stipulate to the amount of trees that need to be replaced. So we would respectfully ask the board to give us that conditional approval. Thank you.
May I make my, reopen for deliberations?
We certainly are.
So I don't think there's any real disagreement here. I mean, both the town officials and the applicant agree that these trees need to be removed in order to successfully complete the paving project. I think what we still would like to see is additional trees replaced, and I know that the site is challenging to get all the way there, but that's why our tree ordinance allows for relief vis-a-vis the funding. I would be in favor of approving the removal of the trees with the condition that we have a minimum of, let's call it 30 to 32 trees, in addition with, consulting with our forester to see if we can get more.
May I amend that? 30, if it's going to be, say, 32 trees, the other 13 must be paid into the tree fund.
Right, of course. Yeah,
I just,
but no, to be clear, I agree with that. I'm just stating that I would like to take the applicant at face value that they tried to maximize the number of trees, and our ordinance allows for relief if they can't do that. I'm trying to balance getting more trees on the property without being, just unworkable. So I would be in favor of a minimum number. I'm just throwing out a round number of 30, could be more or less, with the condition that they continue to work with the forest to come up with the optimal number of trees, and the rest goes into the tree fund as per our ordinance.
If you have a minimum number that is too high, what happens if Rich can't endorse it?
I guess that's a question for you, is how we should structure it. I'm just making a number up for debate purposes, but.
Right. Well, I think you'd have to confer with Rich before you come up with a number that he might not, the number he might be comfortable with right now is the number that they're at. And then, he could ask for more, but at least that's the minimum.
I know, but we also have the applicant that throughout will agree with whatever you want. So, I mean, it's clear that we can put some more trees on the property, in my opinion.
May I ask a question with regards to the replanting trees? Mr. Massera, you kind of touched base on this earlier. I think one of the issues with the 22 trees was the size and type of trees. If you set a number at 30 and 35, and Mr. Wallowitz and Mr. Heller agree that those trees can be accomplished via ornamental trees or smaller trees and shrubbery, would that satisfy the board's concerns?
I mean, I prefer to have a viable mix, right? We're in this position somewhat because the homogeneous structure of all the tree species, right? The Shade Tree Commission has made it pretty clear, and I know the Environmental Commission and even this board has made it very clear to other applicants to diversify species as much as possible. So I don't want to fall into the trap of giving a number, or the board giving a number, excuse me, and then now we have a homogeneous mix. So again, I'm trying to balance. I'm not tied to a number per se. I'm just saying, how do we get this approved tonight?
yeah, I mean, to your point, there are a pretty good amount of different ornamental species, and some of them get up to 35 feet. These are trees that are 35 feet or less. The regular shade trees can go up to 70, 80, 100 maybe even feet. The trees on our ornamental list go up to 35 feet. Are those something that you would recommend for this type of site? I'm asking you, Rich.
My guess is yes, but I'd like to take a look. I don't want to be confident and say yes unless I look at both sides. I want to see what the list is. I want to see what we have in the fields, but it sounds as though it's doable.
All right.
May I make a suggestion?
You want to write the ordinance?
No, let him, come on, go ahead.
Right now, the applicant's testimony, or of Mr. Heller, states that 22 trees is what we have. What if we set that as a baseline, provided if Mr. Wallowitz thinks that more trees can be replanted in the species, we will do so, and we'll also diversify, if Mr. Wallowitz feels there could be better diversity in his communications with Mr. Heller, then we can do that as well. But this is obviously going to have to be a concerted effort between our professionals and Mr. Wallowitz as to figuring out how many trees this property can handle in the types of those trees.
Right, but I think your baseline is what we find to be just a wee bit too low.
Well, that's why we're proposing the added protection for the board, that if Mr. Wallowitz determines that there is a greater number.
We suggested that condition to bring Mr. Wallowitz in. I think our attorney made that suggestion, just to let you know. I think your baseline of 22 is too low. Thank you. We're in deliberation.
We understand. I'm not saying that you don't think it's low. All I'm saying is that that number, it can only go up.
So I think here, what we're basically saying, the easiest way out of this is for Mr. Wallowitz to, the only way to really look at this is for someone to walk the site. And look at what trees are there, the canopy of the trees that are there, and come up with a plan to add a couple more trees, as many as possible. Try to get all 45 in there for us. But if you can't, then hit whatever the highest number is. And I know it seems like a back and forth, and this goes on forever. Every tree soaks up water. I mean, if you have a 75-year-old oak tree, it soaks up hundreds of gallons of water. So every little one counts. I know it sounds like, we're just bickering here, but we're really not, because there's people downstream, and I know them, and the families, their houses flood. So any little bit can help here. I think what we do is just vote on the number as instructed by our attorney, and then suggested by our attorney, and then trust that Mr. Wallowitz will go there and get us the 45 that we want, or as close to that number as he possibly can. We don't want your money. We want the trees. And
we want to make you happy, and that's why we're committed to this collaboration.
That was obvious the moment you walked
Sorry.
in.
I totally understand, and I think everybody, when I said before, I'm speaking from experience. These trees, you're going to cut them, they're going to die. If you cut through them and you replace these curbs, in a year from now, you get a heavy wind, they're going to blow one way. They're just, that's the way they are. Every one of the ones scheduled to be taken down, besides that big pine, their roots are stacked up on the curb, if not growing over it. So I don't disagree with taking them down, because you have to replace the curbs. So I just think we should vote and trust that our expert can help us out.
So I think we should go with what I think sort of a dual hybrid of Visera and the suggestion by Mr. Katzap to put a baseline at, say, 30 or 32, with the understanding that Rich is definitely getting 45 on there.
No pressure.
If I can, I will.
And one other condition,
Yeah,
Madam Chair, that the applicant also put deer fencing or deer protection around the trees when they plant them. Every one.
Oh, they're in planted trees?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not an issue.
Absolutely. I mean, that should go without saying. And I believe that your landscape architect said that he had effectively left that out of the plan, but he didn't mean to. Something to that effect. So, do any of you guys have any other suggestions or any additions to the idea that we're floating right now?
Were there any conditions on shrubbery or?
Shrubbery can't be a tree,
Okay, so this is just trees.
just trees. If this was a site plan, we could get into that, but it's really not.
Well, Rich could negotiate for it if
you know, as long as the number of trees were fine, he could ask for other things as well. I mean,
You could trade, make trades.
but you have to have a minimum number of trees.
Right. Ms. Parker, any suggestions or additions? Okay.
No, good.
So what's our baseline? Rich, do you have any ideas for a baseline?
Sorry, I'm thinking I'm putting myself out on a limb here. Bad pun. You have baseline 22. What we'd like is 45. Middle's 33.
Question. So if they cannot meet 32, they would have to come back for a new application as an amendment to a prior approval? Because if they can't meet the minimum, then they're not going to be in conformance with the resolution?
Well, they're going to have to meet the minimum. Otherwise, they will have to come to an agreement prior to taking down any trees. That's going to have to be in the, you know, I mean, otherwise you take down the trees and you're not in agreement, and then what? So the agreement would have to be made because it's such a higher number. If it were 22, then we know that they, you know, that they have that plan in place. But because it's a number exceeding what their testimony has been, then the condition will be that nothing be removed until the final plan is approved, which could be tomorrow or could be 3 weeks from now.
I was just going to ask for clarification, approved by Mr. Wallowitz?
Yes, yes.
And he'll let us know what he came up with too. I mean, as a courtesy.
Well, the bottom line is you're not going to have a resolution for 30 days anyway.
Right.
So really, we'll have a 30-day period, presumably, that this can be resolved. So the resolution will stay the same, but it'll be a formality at that time, because once the resolution is passed, presumably, we get the chainsaws out the next day. So,
So we make motion?
That's what's happening right now.
Okay.
So can I make a motion? Yeah, okay. Make a motion to approve the removal of 16 trees as identified on the plan submitted, subject to the agreement that the replacement number of trees is 45, as outlined in the zoning officials' submission. The minimum baseline for replacement on the site is 22, and the applicant, you could change the number, the applicant will use their best efforts to increase the number replaced and the diversity of species based on the list in the township's ordinance by working with the township expert to increase as close as possible to 45, and will include deer fencing on all of them.
So we wanted to say 33.
Yeah, so
We want to have 33 in there.
our expert suggested splitting the baby with bathwater. So,
change the 22 to 33.
right,
Yeah?
basically just going halves
You good with that?
as a baseline. But to work to increase that, and if impossible to meet, then it's paid into the tree fund, the balance of trees.
Can I just ask for a point of clarification, maybe from Mr. Mercera? If after we consult with Mr. Wallowitz and he says, hey, I went out on a limb, but I should have said 30 instead of 32, and we can't meet that number, do we need to come back here, or can the board build in some room, you know, baseline's 32 unless the town's forester agrees that a lesser number is?
No, I think that's what was suggested, and
We got to stay
and
with that 32.
Right, right.
Can you please give me, excuse me, can you please give me a moment to speak with Mr. Heller about that? Because before I can commit to that, I just want to be able to, you know, you asked me if that's okay, the 32 number.
Since it's a, right, we're asking for a condition. Right.
He's giving me the thumbs up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So the baseline is 33, is that what we decided?
That's what I just put down, yeah.
I know. Okay, with the change up to 33, can I get a second on that?
I'll second that.
Second. Mr. McAvoy got in before me.
Deputy
He
Mayor
can have it.
McAvoy,
He can have it.
seconded, and can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Parker?
Need a motion.
Yes, yes.
Mr. Katsef?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Freshy?
Yes.
Chairperson Pearson?
Yes. Motion carries. Do we have any new business? We have no new business. Does anybody else have any new business? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And definitely thank you to Mr. Katzen and his son over there. I'm sure he agreed to, well, I certainly didn't want to be here this late, so I imagine he. I know.
By the way.